it was started by Jews. It will not be a Starbucks.
Interestingly, Lev Tahor has announced they will be leaving Guatemala and moving their headquarters to Ghana.
It's wild to watch them like celebrate like that.
Oh my God! Can we please send Lev Tahor to Gaza on a?
Like, it's disgusting to see the celebration from Gaza.
Yeah, it really is stomach turning.
They're not celebrating the end of the war. They're celebrating Hamas with like banners of Hamas and like Palestinians flag. This is not how an end of the genocide looks like.
You just let them
Such fake
victory. That's what they're gonna call it anyway.
Yeah, I just used, like Rena said, it was live on Sky News, and I used that Sky News to see, and it's so messed up. It's so messed up.
They probably don't even know what they're celebrating.
I think I found all the uniforms.
You know what? For the first time, I think in my Clubhouse time, I'm gonna put on the news. TV.
I wouldn't believe everything you see. It's because it's all by the Zionists.
I would believe everything you saw, everything you read, everything you see, everything you hear. I would just accept it all.
You know, he's my more higher friend in New York. They don't even have TVs.
Who don't have TVs?
I'll just say my more well-to-do friends.
I got this TV because it was given to me because I haven't really owned a TV since 2015. I mean, this TV is now mine, but let's see, BBC World.
I take it that the Bibas family was not released first is an indication that things are not looking too good on that side.
It's definitely a bad indication, but we still have 12 more, at least more, that can be released. So these were 3 women. If they're not released in 7 days from now, then I think we can pretty much assume that they're not released.
What about the kids? I would have put the kids in the first batch.
So that's what he was just saying. The chances of kids being alive are very low if they weren't in the first batch. Because that's part of the deal is they have to release the live ones first.
Yeah, but you also need to understand that probably all of this is also manipulation, psychological manipulation. They know what they're doing. Like, yeah, we're not going to release the ones they're expecting so that they get to be more afraid.
Yeah, but the Bibas children are the PR nightmare for Hamas. I agree that if they were alive, they would have been released a year ago. Even holding a baby in captivity is hard for them. And also, it shows like a very bad message, as if Hamas are an inhumane organization. And no one wants to think that.
Yeah, they certainly don't want to be considered inhumane. They prefer to not kill the babies that are in custody, but just kill the babies that are in Israel. That makes sense.
Well, just remember
when they're actually releasing the hostages, it's like I don't want to watch a bunch of cars with Palestinian flags.
I think they're already in the Red Cross cars on the way to the meeting point for the helicopter. Yeah, I think they released photos of them in the Red Cross.
Just remember that that while Hamas does care about babies and their lives, and is saddened that that Israel has forced, the Zionist entity has forced them to kill babies. Just remember that these babies, in fact, are part of the IDF and are war criminals, and therefore, killing them is legitimate in terms of. Does it sound more crazy when I say it?
Like there are thousands of Israelis in Tel Aviv in Hostel Square watching this in the screens there. The relay is very touching.
I think it's high time we make some babies. I don't want to make any babies. Suppose I bet you make a couple boys. How big a boy we talking? Boys will grow up to be so big and strong. Like that. Okay, then, mama. Funny as hell, too. Let me have you scoot in. So knock it off. What are they doing now? Trying to stick their fingers on their butt.
And in happy news, Enver left the government. It's a good day.
The entire party
It isn't the entire party an exaggeration. Don't they only have like 3 members?
4 ministers.
Donald Trump will be taking his place.
That tracks.
Should be any minute now that they will meet their IDF force in Gaza to catch them. It shouldn't take much longer.
Did you find a link, by the way?
Hey, I found, but they didn't broadcast what I'm saying. They broadcast I found like on YouTube a few things that are live in the hospitals. Let me continue looking. So,
Well, they're not really showing me anything on BBC News. It's just a bunch of people in Tel Aviv, but they're not showing any other type of images. Just a bunch of people gathered. Oh no. Nobody likes the deal, the guys that they're interviewing in the street.
I put a link to something in the chat that is live that looks like from like Gaza envelope towards Gaza.
That's Sky News.
They just broke live news into shows right now. I don't know if that's what you're listening to, but that the first 3 girls have been handed over.
Yes, it's now been confirmed that Donald Trump has signed the contract to join Likud tomorrow.
Yeah, I've been watching that on Fox News.
Sorry, to join what?
Likud, Marvin. Donald Trump is joining Likud since Ben Gvir has left the government.
The hostages have been released to the Red Cross, but I've been watching Fox News and I can't.
In other news, Donald Trump has clarified that Canada will become a state, and both Alaska and Greenland will also be Greenland will become part of the United States as well. But Alaska and Greenland. Thanks for interrupting, David. You're very useful. But Alaska and Greenland will now be referred to as East and West earmuffs, and of course Canada will be that.
Is Justin Trudeau going to get a position in that one?
Technically, Alaska's further north than Greenland, so
Shut up, David.
I wouldn't really.
But a battle for methodology, man, that's been going on for a long period of time. But
when Hippocrates wrote his first Vivo, he actually put in the end of it that we weren't supposed to take science as God, and that if we were to observe something that didn't reflect what was in his book, that we should believe our own observations over the things that we see in old science.
You know what I find interesting, Naples?
One time I missed it. I'm sorry.
what's up, brother? What have you with?
This is one of the few topics. Every time I hear it, like, I have very few sacred cows, and I'm not saying this is a sacred cow, but this is actually one of the few topics that manages to consistently get me very, very irritated when I hear people sort of down the education system in general. Call it outdated and antiquated, because it's like, this is, I guess, I feel like it only ever comes from certain parts of the world.
I think it has more to do with, depending upon their condition, they may go to one of a variety of hospitals.
Kick me again. Lame. It's so very, very, very lame. They don't want me to record the lame conversation.
Whipped up into some kind of mass hysteria for revolutions time and time again. Like, this is actually how it happens. Is when you have uneducated masses, that's when they feel most disempowered or disenfranchised by the current system, and that's usually who will typically revolt from the part of the world I come from, right? Now, it also just happens to be the case. I guess it's. I understand what people mean when they say that perhaps the education model should be updated, but I think that's prescriptively projecting or applying a new set of values on top of a system that was never designed for that necessarily, right? I think the system was designed to do what it was designed to do. It was designed to give people a base level of information and knowledge to be able to integrate into a broader society, and then people could take their own education personally a step further, or parents could do that as well. The issue is, it's like we have a habit of talking about education as if it only exists in isolation and is supposed to be this panacea or catharsis to all of society's problems. It's like, that's not true. Parenting is also supposed to be the next step forward. If you want your kids to be interested in particular things, as a parent, do something about it. You can't just lay that at the feet of the entire education system. They did a good job teaching them reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? Which are pivotal, critical, right? Reading, writing, and arithmetic. I think an education system that does any more than that is already succeeding.
That's a fact, Huey. That's a fact.
I think when you speak about the educational system and its design, everything in nature, the ultimate aim of all life in nature is to evolve. The nature of all life is to evolve. So when we talk about education from original design, then we would, in effect, if we talk about education system based on design and then kowtow into that, wouldn't that also cause us to actually have an outdated educational system because we're sticking to a original premise and not evolving? From the educational standpoint, Dewey was one of the founding philosophies of teachers that they lean on in order to help them with their teaching method and process. I think that there's different environments and different circumstances that are arising that they didn't have the answer for, but yet we're holding on to a whole old methodology to deal with current and new problems. And I think that is rendering the educational system to a certain degree in terms of problem solving ineffective. I think that true education, you talk about education being taught in a way that we can work, that we can operate into an integrated society, then to me, that is not education, that's training. That's taking people and training them to be a part into an integrated society to actually make it function and work. I'm talking about people who are actually educated in a way to arise, to to deal with current day circumstance problems based off of them arising to new solutions to the same problem. And so that's what I'm referring to when we're talking about education. This is why right now we're having what is referred to as brain drain, where our leading professionals, whether it's in the medical field, specifically in the medical field, but also general and otherwise, a lot of our most brightest minds are coming and being bought from other countries simply because of what I'm saying now. So again, the goal of education should not be indoctrination so that they can be a part of it. And that is a problem. This is why, and you have a lot of people who are trained to be integrated parts of society, and they are given degrees that they cannot even use. They're given a degree, a college education that they cannot even actually find useful in society to be a part of it. You have a huge percentage of people with bachelor degrees who aren't even using the degrees that they went to college for in the first place. So again, it's like there are people evolve, human behavior evolve, and as new problems evolve, and as people change and things evolve, there are new solutions to those problems that also arise. But as long as we're holding on to an old methodology or way of doing things, we become ineffective.
Yeah, I guess I understand the premise there, but I guess perhaps we're talking across purposes here. I understand that for the most part there are new issues that arise in any given society. So when you talk about technology use, talking about like the ethics of how we are going to approach this new technological landscape, when you're talking about dealing with the consequences of globalization over a 40 to 50 year period. All of these things are new issues that like generations moving forward are going to have to contend with. I don't disagree there. The issue becomes whether or not the fact of these new issues themselves is an indictment on the education system or can ever be an indictment on the education system. I just fundamentally disagree with conversations like that across the board. I think there's a degree to which the education system has a responsibility to making sure you can do the basics, which is reading, writing, and arithmetic. And then there's a degree to which you as a parent or the communities in which you come from, the micro clusters that you represent, have a responsibility to deciding which of these issues is going to be paramount for you, your family, your society, right? And there's a degree to which a lot of people take interest in the particular problems as niches and go into those things and perfectly fine and are able to educate themselves there. I think trying to educate our children and our modern populace about every possible thing makes no sense. I used to think the other way a while ago, when especially when it came to financial education. Let's say I used to hear people say, you know, they never taught us how to do taxes in school. They never taught us how to do X, Y, and Z in school. And I used to be like, yeah, fuck right? The education system failed. And it's like, did it though? Because when I think about my schooling, I had a plethora of subjects that gave me an elementary based knowledge. There was nothing that stopped me, like legitimately stopped me from wanting to learn more about the financial institutions and all of those things if I thought it mattered, right? And the reality is I was able to learn a basic elementary sort of like introduction into those things later on at my own will. I can't turn around and then say the education system failed me. And then you said something interesting, something interesting to me, which was that the education system should not be there to essentially indoctrinate the populace or train people how to fit into society. And maybe that's the problem with America, right? Because America is not homogenous culturally, right? It's a melting pot of different sort of cultures. People believe that there is no America fundamentally, but there very much is. There's a reason why we, from the other parts of the world, flock and travel to America and want to become a part of the system overall, right? It's because there are certain ideals and there's an American doctrine that we all believe in. But it almost seems like the only people that don't believe in the American ideal or doctrine is the Americans themselves, which is sad to see, right? That's exactly what should be happening. People should be indoctrinated, right, to integrate into American society, not the other way around. America shouldn't be
adapting to all the different multicultures around the world. Otherwise, it doesn't work that way, right? America shouldn't be becoming more liberal because there's more liberals coming in. America should stay America. There's a beautiful constitution that we all value and respect that has created the land of the free, right? People should be indoctrinating themselves or be indoctrinated to fit into American society and understand why freedom is paramount.
I mean, I understand your premise in terms of fitting into the social fabric of America. What renders an education ineffective? Let's just say this, Huey. You bought a I give you a training manual that teaches you how to fix a 1964 Mercedes-Benz. And you learn it and you understand it thoroughly, right? But then your customers that come to you, they only have, let's say they have a 2025 Benz or 2024, anything from the 2000s Benz. And they bring that to you. And you have been educated on a 1964 Mercedes-Benz, but you're rather very ineffective. You're wondering why. Why can't I fix this 2025 Benz? Why can't this 2024, 2023 Benz? Why am I unsuccessful? Is there something wrong with the Benz? Is there something wrong with the 2024, 2025 Benz? No. It's something wrong with the manual that I was actually given to fix it, because the manual that I have is actually outdated. And what I'm saying to you is that it's not about, in order to fit into a society and have the society continuously forward moving, you also have to be, you have to positively contribute to that society by being equipped with knowledge and information, by helping that society move forward. And so again, this is why we're suffering with brain rot, or some people, I'm sorry, not brain rot, it's a term that we may refer to as brain drain, where people from other countries who are being a little bit better educated, who come from Nigeria, who's coming from India, who come from different parts of the world, who's coming to America, and they're able to help solve these problems. Elon, of course, is a phenomenon, but he's not from here. A lot of our some of our brightest minds, especially in my field is not from here. So again, I understand what you're saying, but I think that the American people right now, I think that the information that much of us were given is not necessarily useful outside of the context of conversation.
Well, hey, Jeremy, what a brain drains affect I guess I'll say this one thing. What a brain drains affect the other country, right? So that like the Nigerians that leave Nigeria, come to America and utilize their brain, wouldn't that be a brain drain?
And that would be those countries that are experiencing brain drain because of America are an example of how the people who are being educated there have nowhere to even go, right? And that's another problem, right? Altogether. But it's not a problem that's a function of education. That's the point I was about to make. But then also, if you gave me a manual on a 1964 Mercedes, and you gave me a Mercedes-Benz from 2011, decades ahead of its time, there's a lot of things I won't be able to do, but at least I understand how internal combustion engines work, and I understand that if I strip away certain features of the car, the worst thing I can do is get the car to stop being electronic and having the fancy screens, but at least I know I won't fuck up the internal combustion engine, which is fundamentally what a car is for. In other words, the elementary knowledge of understanding how a car works, the drivetrain and all of these things, is sufficient enough to at least get me started to hyper specialize in only fixing Mercedes or broadening my dimensions. But then here's another thing that's happening today. There's people who are learning overly abstract, complex concepts too early and not understanding where they actually come from. And you see this happen all the time. For example, with people overusing terms in psychology, but they haven't done the work, right? They've earned the knowledge for free because of Google and iPhones, right? But they haven't actually done the work to understand the complex sort of like analyses that were required to come up with the term like gaslighting. Nobody's watched the original movie, right? When they say gaslighting, or when they talk about
the original fucking movie.
these different types of relationship
Fuck is this motherfucking Schwartz talking about?
Attachment styles. Everybody loves talking about fucking attachment styles. None of them has read the theory. Even when it came to
Attachment styles.
nobody knows who came up with 5 love languages. It was Gary
We got
Vee.
5 love languages. This is his psychology.
My love language is gifts. My love language is X. They don't understand the theory behind it. They don't understand that people tend to have all 5 love languages, and it's a matter of priorities. And there's a test you can take to figure out which are the top 2, or which are the top 3, which are the combination. No one knows this shit, right? Because it's just too freely accessible. And this is what happens when you teach people about the Mercedes-Benz in the 2000s or in the 2011s, and tell them this is all a car is. It's all it ever was, and they only ever learn about the most complex version of a thing rather than the elementary version of the thing. It's like teaching algebra, but somebody never knowing like the basics of how basic arithmetic and addition and subtraction and all of these other basic concepts work, basic math works, right? Now I know that's impossible in the case of math, but that's what I'm saying is happening today, though, right? People are learning the most complex version of things without understanding where these things come from and what's at the base of these things. And when societies go through their inevitable like ebbs and flows and collapses sometimes, those people are the ones who are fucked. It's the person who knows how to fix a 1964 Mercedes-Benz who's going to have the advantage over the person who only knows how to fix 2011 Mercedes-Benzes when societies start to collapse.
But Huey, I understand what you're saying, but you said a good point. That if you was given a 1964 Mercedes-Benz manual and you were to arrive and fix on a 2011 Benz, you said, you know, a part of your education from 1964, you would be effective because some basics of that Benz will still be intact. However, the blind spot in your knowledge wouldn't allow you to actually make the vehicle optimal. And so instead of saying, hey, why rely on the 1964 manual? How about I go and learn how about I go get the manual for any vehicle made or manual for any vehicle made by Mercedes after the 2000s and then start there? Because what is the likelihood am I going to run into there's a higher probability that I'll fix more Mercedes that was made after the 2000 than our Mercedes that was made in the 1960s. Not saying that they aren't around, but the point is, it's not just getting by, but to be optimal, but to be, from an evolutionary standpoint, to actually succeed, not just render effective. And so what nullifies our education is not just simply straggling along because we have some basic fundamental parts, but actually excelling. But Incan, you want to say something? I'm gonna fall back.
Yeah, I think what Huey's invoking is that education doesn't have the responsibility to make like certain things optimal, right? It has these tasks to get you to have the ability to do so, right? So, like, if you play football, you're going to be lifting weights, right? You're going to be lifting weights a lot. You're going to be doing quite a couple of things, the strength training. But there's not going to be a point where you're on the field, right? Where you have to do, like, you're saying 30 yards away from the touchdown. And there's a play that's being called in which any of them is just going to start, like, doing deadlifts or going to start doing squats. But you do that, right? Because it helps you to do this other task, right? And that's kind of like the same thing with education, right? Where we have written stuff, right? There's a lot of things that the education system could get better at, but ultimately the responsibility is to be able to give like muscles to our brain, right? Be able to deal with complicated tasks, for example, like algebra. Though most people don't use algebra. Same thing with calculus, right? It's just the ability to solve those problems, right? Wrap your head around them. Gives you the ability to do similar things with other concepts. I think that's what kind of like Huey is just trying to point out. That if you're able to understand something rather than just get what the newest buzzwords that are relevant at the time, which, by the way, building a whole education system and how things are now take a long time, and by the time it's done, those who would be applicable, right, to whatever political spectrum is in command, it makes more sense to be able to give people what are essentially fundamentals, right, and let them have the ability to wrap their head around that, and then they have the willpower, right? They can do that with other things, but that's more the responsibility of like people who guide you, like your parents, your guardians, whoever that is, and the ability to be able to wrap your head around that. You can say it's the education, but like you said, there's nothing that stops you once you learn math to like understanding savings. I mean, who's supposed to teach you the importance of savings? Whoever manages money in your household, right? And then there's so much information available now. And for example, if you want to make a budget, you want to learn about like, I don't know, if you buy a home or you're thinking of buying a home, there's so many videos, for example, how to pay off interest, like how to pay off your house quickly.
How to pay off interest? Jesus.
What's really stopping is just your attitude towards these things. What you find important, right? You find more important to spend your money on like temporary things or make long-term investments. I don't think that's at the responsibility of the education system. I don't think that's more of the people who raise you. But as you get become more of an adult, that's falls more on you than anything else.
So listen to this. The thing is, what I'm telling you is that it's not just the responsibility of the education system. What I'm saying is that much of the stuff that we have inside of our head from education, we cannot even use. That's what I'm saying. A lot of the stuff, specifically here in America, that we are learning, from my vantage point at least, I think our educational system is more so. I think right now our educational system is built on the Industrial Revolution. Our education system is built on the industrial age. Right now, we are out of the information age and going into the age of technology. And so that's another thing. You're entering into a whole new age of how things are done, how people work, how work is done. And yet you still have an educational system set up based on the industrial age. That in itself is ineffective, because now you have to, as much time you spend learning, there's a lot of time that you're going to have to spend unlearning that information to learn new information on how to adapt. And the people whose educational system that is still stuck on and from an industrial standpoint, and they're not, and that education system is not preparing them from a technological standpoint. Essentially, those people, there would be a whole population of people that would be left behind.
Yeah, so I think that there's an element that's kind of like being missed here when it comes to just like the education system, and just how we operate as human beings all together. I think when it comes to education, yeah, we train each other, but with all this information that's out there, it's not so much of like what is less or what is more, but it's how you sort. It's how you apply in that moment of time the information that is needed to move forward, to utilize that problem-solving skills. And I think the way we set up our environment, which is highly conceptual, where this environment is of nothing but convenience, technology, what's easy, what comes easy to us. And I'm not going to say that's entirely a bad thing, but there's an element, for example, a child, right? We are prone, and from an idealistic standpoint, we are there to teach our kids, right? But there's an element to us as human beings that we don't necessarily need to teach. It's more so of acquiring this ability, which is problem solving. For example, you can just leave your kid and they run into a problem and you say you solve it yourself. There's nothing wrong with giving them bits, pieces of information to help them move forward. But for your child to actually go through this natural instinctual ability to utilize the environment.
There you go, they kicked me. I said, Jesus, this is dumb. This is like talking about the menu. never ordering the dinner.
Oh, okay. But I was simply asking you, is there any objection to
How is this being? It doesn't matter. I'm not a voter, right? I don't personally. I don't.
Where's the immorality? Why? Where's the like? How is this being moral? Like, I just don't. It doesn't connect.
I do believe that if Kamala Harris had won, and then 2 days before she took presidency, they started offering Harris gender change.
Kamala Harris doesn't have a multi-million-dollar brand attached to her name, nigga.
I'm pretty sure that all you Republicans would be up in arms that she's using.
Kamala Harris doesn't have a multi-billion-dollar brand attached to her name, my nigga. Like, this is.
Imagine she was getting 20% royalties. Where was British Hollow? From every.
Where was British Hollow?
Jimmy, you're doing the Black American thing.
Where was British Hollow? Look, where was British Hollow when the NFT collections came out?
Why is it bothering you so much? Just relax. Like, you're just talking. You're just talking.
Right? There are people that have standards, right? So look, I have standards. You see, British, you being as smart as you are, I have standards for you. So when you go down the line,
I don't have conversations like this. Like, I know how the Gauntlet and all the Black American rooms work. I don't have conversations like that. Like, I don't like talking just.
Okay, go ahead, British. Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, give me your diatribe. Sure.
I just think that if Kamala Harris had launched the Harris gender change surgeries for $1,000 and then took 20% as a license fee 2 days before she became president, I'm pretty sure all Republicans will be up in arms, and I just don't know why you're not up in arms with Trump doing the same thing with a meme.
Okay, Jimmy's retort. Trump had an NFT collection, 2 NFT collections, before he got shot, my nigga. None of you motherfuckers ever argued.
He was not
arguing right now. I like consistency. I like
running to become
president. I like consistency.
That is false, Jimmy. That is false information.
Everyone in this room called the president.
Let me finish. This is before Bitcoin and the Nashville Bitcoin situation.
No. That is false. That is absolutely false information, Jimmy. You are lying.
I want to know
really?
People were absolutely in here talking shit about the Donald Trump NFTs and about how shitty it was.
Oh, really? We got together. How can Donald Trump do this? That's what y'all niggas got together? And did this before Bitcoin Nashville?
We had the same exact conversation that we're having right now. Did you not hear it? Or what's up?
Everybody was sucking dick all over.
No.
I wasn't sucking dick. 100%. All of you niggas was sucking dick. Only.
No, you are lying. You are lying.
Trump to win. This is after the NFT collections.
No, that is simply false.
You ever accused me of sucking dick? Yeah, okay. All right, whatever. All right, cool.
That is a complete lie. I myself called.
We need to start recording.
It is, absolutely. People are recording rooms. Hit up Credit Bridge. Go ahead, Jimmy. Hit up Credit Bridge.
I myself called him shitcoin when he launched the.
Yes, we had the same exact conversations. The same exact one.
I called him President Shitcoin when he launched the sneaker.
It's already established he's a shitcoiner.
Listen, Jimmy, why are you so triggered? All we were talking about was how shitty it looks 2 days before he takes office. Like, who gives a fucks about morality, any of that shit? Like, it just looks shit.
No, it doesn't.
I can clearly see you don't believe that. But you can live in your own delusion. That's fine. But, like, it is shit.
I'm not delusional. You guys
are extremely delusional. Very delusional.
I'm not delusional at all. You guys are.
I mean, when I was
so other people are also delusional. That doesn't make you any less delusional, bro.
When I was here, people were copying the Trump NFT and were excited about it. Nobody was hating on it.
I remember this clearly, bro.
Clearly not.
But they're different rooms, so we might have had a different experience.
Whitney said, so fuck it, you know.
It exactly was a lie because I remember saying the words President Shitcoin.
Yes.
When he did that.
You said President Shitcoin, and then he got shot, and he was everyone's hero, my nigga.
Sure, which makes this
This is
even
what happened.
worse.
And then we can't have Kamala. And then you were like, no, you Americans have to. Oh my God! Everybody was pro Trump after the shitcoin.
Listen, I don't know why you're hyperventilating.
And then the meme coin came out, and we're against him again. This is
probably because they think it's absurd and non-Americans always.
Because everybody wants the SBR and said, "Oh, I think this is going to
Shelley,
be the SBR."
before you start about the non-American thing, I actually haven't offered an opinion. Like, I've been asking questions this whole time.
Well, we all
Andrew
know
asked
what
me
you
for my
do.
opinion.
You're
Yeah, I want your
antagonistic
opinion.
to get a reaction, then you get the reaction, then you gaslight. It's just a common practice. I don't know why people are still impressed or surprised by it.
I'd like to hear British opinion.
Yeah.
I think my opinion is irrelevant because I'm a non-American.
So what? I want to hear.
I didn't vote for Trump. I don't
care. I'd like to hear your opinion.
Look, I think it's. I take Britney's verbiage, which is it looks shit. Like, no matter what you think about the morality, the viability, and everything else, I think a president with this much likeness, still, or whoever he's licensed his name to, utilizing the name to pump a meme coin 2 nights before he becomes the president of the United States of America, regardless of what you think, I think it looks shit. Whether it's immoral, capitalistic, whatever, the perception is shit.
I think it significantly will impact any of the bills going forward with Bitcoin's reserves. Especially if he thinks he's going to do it as an executive order now.
The whole of Congress is going to be sitting there going, you just made almost $1 billion. And they don't know how these deals work. Perception is going to be Trump made.
Mm-hmm. They don't know shit about how any of it's going to go down on the back end.
Given the 2 choices, I still rather have him.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about.
That's also a
retarded,
stupid take. I would still also have it.
Well, the bitching that's going on, it's not going to change anything, and that's what I mean. That's why I state my opinion.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, like, listen, I also still would choose Donald Trump. Yeah, I would still choose him.
You guys can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. All right, life isn't perfect.
Life isn't perfect. We literally have a president that just collected from a shitcoin. Like, that sounds stupid.
Life is not perfect. This is a misstep. And the ability to not evaluate a misstep honestly, because you have got President Trump's dick all over your throats. Like, that is an issue. It is a misstep, and you must identify it as a misstep.
Honest about it. Like, everyone knows that. That's why
Jimmy does not know that. Jimmy,
no. Yeah, Charlie, can't say everybody.
Not a misstep at all. You know what's going to happen? He's going to free Ross, and everyone's going to be sucking dick again.
No,
you guys have the memory of a goldfish.
Okay, sorry. So Jimmy
you guys have the memory of a goldfish. All the yellow belt magazines are, oh my God, I guess. And then the XBR gets through and sucking.
Do you think you're making good points, Jimmy? Do you think any of the points that you're making are, like, actually good?
Great.
No,
great.
You sound more delusional than you did 10 minutes ago.
Like, hey, look at you guys.
Jimmy, you've basically Hold on. You basically transitioned from there is nothing immoral about it. It's completely fair.
It's
to
a
now
meme
saying
coin.
It doesn't matter that it was immoral.
It's a meme coin. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Did I say that? Why am I moralizing about a meme? Who's retarded enough to moralize about a meme coin? Who's that retarded? To moralize about a meme coin, fam. When somebody says, hey, bro, this is a meme. I'm selling a meme. This meme's not meant to make you rich. It's a meme. If you buy it and speculate it, you're retarded.
Go off, King.
Not the issue.
If that's truly your perception on what's happening,
what do you mean perception? It is what it is.
You are further lost.
He didn't market this meme wasn't marketed as nothing other than a meme. So if you spend money on it, you bought a meme. Now if you expect to get rich off of it, you're retarded. Now if you do get rich off of it, well, great. God's good. If you don't, it's a meme. Like, what about this is like immoral?
What about inappropriate? I don't want to make a moral judgment. Is it a bad look? Is it shameful?
Yes.
Absolutely.
You can believe that yes, this man does do.
Can't you just answer what you believe?
He does do used car salesman level shit. He does. He's always done it for decades. That's what he's done.
This is actually worse.
Yeah, there's Trump underwear. There's Trump golf clubs. There's Trump watches. There's Trump all kinds.
I recently learned there's a Trump Bible. I haven't validated that, but that's super cringe.
That's on brand. Like, this is no surprise. There's a meme coin. Like, there's a Trump. Of course there is.
Samuel found an LA wildfire coin the other day. It's always a coin now. It's what we do in 2020.
So I have a question to me, and this is genuine, and I don't really think it's that big of a deal, so please don't bust an aneurysm. Do you think it will impact the chances that an executive order for a strategic Bitcoin reserve, do you think it will impact that?
Zero impact.
I think that's delusional.
Yeah, it's my tone. My wife is like, yeah, I'm just telling you, it's probably your tone. She's probably right.
Yeah, you sound a little delusional.
No, I don't sound a little delusional. You guys are just retarded. Huh?
It's definitely not your
like you do.
No, but you guys don't. You guys are just retarded. All right, I get it. Whatever.
It's definitely not your tone. It's just your thoughts.
Yeah, whatever. Cool. Whatever.
Do you think that it will impact the chances of a strategic Bitcoin reserve?
I think there's going to have to be significant damage control going on in the background.
What damage control? What damage was done? Only the pussies in Bitcoin.
It doesn't matter about the pussies in Bitcoin, Jimmy. It matters about the 50 senators that are going to have to vote on this Bitcoin reserve. And there's going to need to be damage control with them. There will absolutely.
Who's the damage? Who's damaged thus far? With this meme coin release, who's damaged? Are there victims? Are there losses? Okay, are there people that lost their homes? I want to. Where's the damage?
It's been one day, Jimmy. How would anybody know that?
Ooh, one day, nobody's been damaged. In fact, everyone's been celebrating.
No. Nobody said that nobody has been. I said, how would anybody know that?
I would understand. Who's that? Who's gonna come out and say, yeah, I was really damaged by this meme coin right here? Who's gonna be the? I want to see that first.
You act like that doesn't happen with every other shitcoin.
Of course. If you speculate with sneakers, you might lose your fucking shirt. If you speculate with Pokemon cards, you might lose your shirt. Like, what do you mean? So redundant. You know, every once in a while, you guys turn into commies and want to moralize about how people spend their money, man.
I didn't say anything about the moralization of any of this.
Well, British, literally, that was the crux of his entire argument.
But we don't care about what British says. He doesn't live here.
Well, I mean, I just want to make it clear, like, I don't think any of this is immoral. The argument for me was never morality. It is simply just how shit this looks, and I really think this is going to significantly impact the chances of any sort of Bitcoin being purchased by the United States government. I think it's going to have serious impact, and I agree. I understand that you don't believe so, and we're not going to sit here and pull out the, oh, well, Tommy has been hurt. No, that's really, this is what I believe, and that's what you believe, and I respect that you don't think that it's going to matter at all, but I think that we're going to have serious blowback from this.
I'm looking at what Trump was able to do in his past and still be able to do what he wanted to do.
Well, but you do understand a lot of his executive orders didn't happen. A lot of them didn't happen, the stuff that you're referencing.
Let me finish. This man has done so much shit and still won. And still executed on what he wanted to execute. Full stop. Like, let's be grabbing by the pussy, making fun of disabled people on camera, all kinds of shit. Everyone was like, oh, that's it, wrap it up, it's over.
Yes,
Trump did this thing that you're not supposed to do.
I
I agree with what you're saying, Jimmy, but those were not directly related to bills that we were hoping would maybe make it onto the docket. Those were not related to, like, him grabbing somebody by the pussy had nothing to do with any of the bills that we were aiming for. Him taking money out of a cryptocurrency is directly related to cryptocurrencies being purchased by the United States government.
So who did he victimize with this crypto? I want to understand. Like, before you...
I didn't say shit about victims, Jimmy. I didn't say anything about victims.
So how is it bad? You're saying something is bad without showing me how.
It makes him look like a clown. Why do you need it to be more than that?
He's always looked like a clown.
Yes.
He's always looked like a clown.
Listen, I don't have to find the bad.
All of the other things you named combined. Like, it's
how is
very
this worse
obvious.
than grab him by the pussy? How is that?
Because he wasn't trying to get a pussy bill passed, bro.
Yes, he did. He repealed abortion on a federal level. He did that. After grab him by the pussy, he made it states' rights.
Obviously.
After grab him by the pussy, he repealed abortion.
Well, he did not do that. He put a Supreme Court justice on the Supreme Court, at which point the Supreme Court did that, and he picked the Supreme Court justice, which I understand is a correlation, yes, but it was not an executive order that got rid of abortion, darling.
Yeah, the abortion ain't states' rights right now because of this man by himself.
Yes, I understand that, but we're hoping for an executive order written by Donald Trump to put a Bitcoin reserve for the United States government.
When we're talking about history,
we now know the vote your communist fraud ass out of office. Thanks for the reminder.
There's no way you would know that because we're not even in, like, you'll find that out in the future. We're not going to find that out now, so there's no way you'd have an answer.
You guys, I guess, don't like meme coins, and that's fine. In your opinion, you think it's really bad.
I don't think it's really bad, Jimmy. That's where you're misunderstanding. That's where you're misunderstanding. His voters are not the ones that are going to get us a strategic Bitcoin reserve, bro.
You know what? Look, so for you to...
Do you think that just yelling a bunch of bullshit's getting your point across, Jimmy? Because that's what you're doing. Like, it just sounds like you're just yelling bullshit.
I'm not yelling bullshit because you guys don't know the truth.
You are.
So, for you to actually participate in this drop, you needed to have already been in crypto. So you needed to already buy Solana. You have to have this.
But we're not asking them for their votes on a strategic Bitcoin reserve.
So you have to now go to this DEX and know how to work everything for you to even participate. So this entire pump is 100% crypto niggas.
So why does that make it better?
Coinbase. So,
why do you like that makes it better?
We're not disagreeing in any way on that, Jimmy. There's no disagreement on that.
Can someone explain me why Trump looks like a clown? Because he basically opens a shitcoin casino. It's the equivalent of a physical casino, but then on a crypto rails. Like, what's the difference? He's already operating.
People tend to hold the president to a higher moral standard. That's why.
I think people have an illusion about the institutions that are there, and we've already thought that PF was totally corrupting all the institutions. Well, Trump is just here to demonstrate beyond all disillusionment that the institutions don't mean anything, and it doesn't really hold any respectable value.
So since I said it, I'll tell you why. Because he quotes himself as being the first Bitcoin president, and then that causes people to conflate Bitcoin and crypto, and they're not the same. And you're right, it's a casino. So if he didn't call himself a Bitcoin president, come to the Bitcoin conference, act like he cares about Bitcoin, and say he's going to do a Bitcoin reserve, then it would be different because it does line up with his personality. But the timing of it, that's cringe. And the fact that he's trying to do both. It's the same thing, like, think about God. God says he's going to spit out the lukewarm. Like, he'd rather you either be a non-believer or go hard for him. But if you're just kind of sitting on the fence, you're not real, you're fake. And that's what Trump looks like doing this. Thank you, I'm done speaking.
Yeah, I don't really grapple that much.
I think I've been very clear. Like, I don't care how it makes them look. I think it looks shit in general, but I think it's going to impact our chances of seeing any sort of Bitcoin reserve, and that's the only problem that this has presented for me. I could care less if people buy Trump coin. I could care less if people lose all their value in Trump coin. I could care less if Donald Trump makes $5 billion off of it. I just seriously think when it comes down to the table, asking our senators to actually
think about putting any sort of cryptocurrency on our balance sheet now, I think it's going to be a much larger uphill battle. And that's my only problem with it.
So you'd think they wouldn't look at the proposal on the merits of the argument?
I absolutely do not think so at all. I think that Elizabeth Warren and her crew will absolutely ignore all of the merit that the Bitcoin Reserve can bring to our country, just like she has on many bills. And she will have her people completely ignoring any sort of merit, just like they have done with bazillions of times in the past. Yes, I think they will completely ignore it.
I didn't catch that, Jimmy. No.
A Republican Congress, Republican Senate.
100%.
Everybody knowing that the Trump election.
Even the Republicans will believe this looks shit.
Jimmy's right on this one. It's not just the president.
Everybody is sitting, knowing that the public is given a mandate to follow this nigga's fucking policy. The public, literally, everybody, he's won electoral and popular vote.
Girl, take a breath. Why are you breathing so heavy?
What are we
calm down?
What are we?
Because it's true what Jimmy is saying. We got Congress and we got Senate.
I can't fucking hear either of y'all as you're both talking.
That's what young women do.
You're the one who's talking over Jimmy.
Like, chill out, Brittany. Don't gaslight me.
Don't gaslight me.
I'm not talking to a 17-year-old girl right now, bro.
No, but you really genuinely sound pressed.
Brittany. I'm not pressed. This is how I fucking talk, and I talk with passion. Because I'm hot-blooded. I'm hot-blooded because I'm Caribbean. Don't fucking gaslight me, bro. Chill out. You're a man, Brittany. You're a man. Chill. Don't do that to me. I don't want to have to feel I'm talking to a girl right now. It's just too much.
I don't care what you want to feel.
Even if this is bad for the chance of the SPR, which I really don't believe it is, but if it were, then it's just going to take longer for a bill to pass. I mean, This is a long-term game. Like,
do any of you guys believe that there was any amount of damage to Trump's authenticity when it comes to being a Bitcoin president as a result of him misutilizing his name here to promote this 2 days before the president?
I think Trump's just an opportunistic marketer. He's a master at that. So
you didn't answer my question.
Okay, can you restate it, please?
No, I've restated it 17 times so far in this convo.
Oh, I didn't hear the question either.
We know Jimmy's answer.
Bitcoin and crypto. So in his mind, he probably thinks it's the same thing. He probably thinks he's being the Bitcoin president by doing this.
I can agree with that.
If you listen to Eric Trump's speech at the UAE conference, he said crypto and Bitcoin multiple times, interchangeably. I don't think they're really, when they're publicly speaking, I don't really think they're valuing Bitcoin over crypto. But fundamentally, they understand where they should put their money and where to bet on. But it's just, they're marketing. They're saying crypto and Bitcoin interchangeably all the time. To them, it's just a way to get ahead and do whatever they can for themselves.
I agree with
that. Includes taking money from Bitcoiners and crypto people to advance their campaign in exchange for campaign promises. It's just a quid pro quo. It's all just people following their incentives.
Agreed.
So who's gonna suck my dick when the SPR goes through?
Oh, I will, Jimmy.
Richard will. All right. Everyone needs to line up. Everyone needs to line the fuck up right now. You fucking retards. British, you first? What's going on, huh?
I'll take front of the line.
Yo, British, look, you see why I don't like this bald-headed nigga British? So he started this whole discussion. And then he disappeared, bro. This
That's all he does is come here to gaslight America.
Piece of shit British.
That's why British.
That's why we shouldn't let anybody in our country. Because they come in our rooms and they fuck shit up and leave.
Andrew, for anybody else?
Yeah, you sound muffled. What's up?
Can I just say that Trump making money on what is a meme coin shouldn't affect anything to do with Bitcoin?
It's nuts. It's nuts. You know,
it's not like it's a security or anything like that. It's a fucking meme coin. It's just a
I think you guys give.
and he made a lot of money on it. You know, so
I think you guys give American senators way too much credit for understanding the difference. And I think that's the point that everyone's missing that pretty.
I think you're crazy to think that some American senators
you know,
haven't. Oh my God! I'm surprised you don't think that some of them in the back door don't have pieces of shit coins and meme coins of which they also collect profits from. So.
Oh, I'm intelligent enough to separate the fact that their corruption is different from their ability to market certain things from a political point of view. You guys are clearly not. That's the point I'm trying to make here.
Yeah, you know, you don't know our political system. Senators do what the fuck they do.
Yeah, I'm not American, so there's no point me talking about this.
You know, like, senators do what the fuck they're told. That's that. They do what the fuck they're told. If it's coming up from high. So if SBR is coming up from high, if that demand is coming up from high, they fucking do it.
Listen, I listened to Joe Biden yesterday. He said there's a new oligarchy in America that's gonna bring down America. So I hope you're ready for it. Dude, the propaganda from the gaslighting from the left. I mean, just every time you hear these motherfuckers talk, it's like they're trying to destroy our own country inside out. So, fuck it.
And I'll be, you know, I would also go on to say that if the SBR doesn't happen, it surely wouldn't be because of this meme coin. It would be because of something else.
But again, that was a different argument. Like, that wasn't even the start of the conversation. The start of the conversation was, do you think it's a good look? And clearly, there are people in this room. I think Andrew had the most balanced opinion, which is, yeah, I think there's a morality question. Andrew, if I'm getting what you said wrong, then interrupt me. But from my perspective, Andrew said, yeah, there's a morality question, but do I think it's going to impact anything? No. That's a fair statement. But Jimmy and Grace's statement was not. It was just, I'm so happy Trump is my daddy that he can do whatever he wants.
I agree with Andrew and Jimmy's opinion.
That's what I said? Is that what I said?
I heard you, Jimmy. You said that. I heard you.
That's what I said? Really? Oh, that's a... you know, we have a really... that's a tradition in this room to misstate, you know, what people say. Or to also lie about what happened in the past. You know, so, okay. I mean, that's what I said. Trump's daddy, he could do no wrong. All I did was say, hey, this is a meme coin. Nobody was rugged or scammed on this meme coin. That's all I kept saying. This is on brand for Trump. Trump sells.
So wouldn't this be a challenge in the future as like unethical?
Hey, your accent gives off the fact that you're not American.
Wow, look at that racism now.
Listen, the way that accent came in strong, my guy.
Yes, that's a strong accent. Right. So please.
He's been here for a couple of days. Let him talk.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that, you know, this could be considered as an kind of an unethical practice. Will this be challenged by maybe the senators at some point? Because it seems he used the position of his office to influence this.
He did not use his position as the office. Trump is a famous man.
Yeah, but he launched this coin just 2 days before his inauguration. You know.
Yes.
People believe in that. It's amazing how African has the ability to see the truth.
Like, what are you talking about? Trump was always famous.
Yeah, but why didn't you launch the coin before now?
He's just now learning about crypto and everything. It's
Like,
still new to him.
Yeah. He said, nigga said, use the office. So yeah, okay. He had government workers pushing this? Like, what? Did he take out tax dollars to do it? Did he use the office? He didn't get sworn in yet. He's not in office.
Yeah, but people are anticipating that he's gonna, favor the market. So that's why people are buying into it. So he's using the position of the office to.
That's a meme. No, he's not using the position of the office. Trump is a very, very fit. Obama can come out with a coin, and it will do well. He won 2 terms. He can't go back to being president. But he's a very famous man. If he posts a link to a Solana wallet, this shit's selling out right now, my guy.
Can they just make a Obama coin?
Unfortunately, the condition of Artie Lang's nose tells his story. Fans who paid close attention to the comedian's nose in pictures and appearances can watch the progression through the years, but Lang addressed it head-on in December 2018 by posting several photos to Twitter, captioning one picture of his nose, "Woke up clean, my nose is fine. Gotta accept it, but I'm alive and blessed." This all comes amid court appearances for continued drug convictions, as well as reports that Lang relapsed during rehab in the fall of 2018. However, Lang insists that he's clean now, even taking to Twitter in December 2018 to defend his
to license your name and monetize.
Even I saw there was an LA Fire coin. What is it so hard to grasp? Everything can be a meme these days. There's gonna be a TikTok recipes meme coin in like an hour. Actually, Samuel, can you check on that for me? Samuel in here.
It's okay. Oh, it's okay if you don't like it, though. That's another discussion. Like, oh, I don't like it. I don't respect it. I think it's trashy. Cool. That's a different discussion. I'm not even that's not even, my argument. My argument is, hey, man, you're allowed to do this. You can sell the shittiest product in the world. If there's a demand for it, there's a demand for it. Welcome to America, Playboy. That's why we came here. For this kind of freedom.
Brittany, how's your husband coping?
Wheels are working just fine.
Oh, he moved over to Instagram like nothing.
Just like I suspected.
I'm just waking up, so I heard that Trump is doing an executive order to restart the
Grace, we just burned the fire out. Don't start again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
wait, have you seen?
Okay.
Wait, hold on, Grace. Have you seen like an actual? I haven't seen any like real official anything of that. I've heard
Fox
whisperings. Go ahead.
Fox News reported it?
Well, that's not really that reliable.
But I heard yesterday I heard that if he does, it's only like a 45-day for them to continue.
I would be interested to see what he thinks an executive order is going to do, because like it might delay the forced sale for whatever days. Okay, because like they're not going to sell it. It doesn't matter what Trump does.
That's where
and so if the case is that they're not going to sell it, like if he gives them 45 more days, like that's just 45 more days people can use TikTok, and then it's just going to go away after that. So I don't really know like how that would change anything significantly, because like the Supreme Court has made it very clear it needs to be sold, and that's not going to change because of Donald Trump. And the Chinese government has indicated they're not going to sell it. So the best he can do is a delay. And that's cool. But like, that's not that big of a deal. It's just 45 more days of using TikTok.
I think that means somebody's negotiating.
Well, but from my understanding, like, there's plenty of people that are negotiating, but it's not for sale. Just because we've said that it needs to be sold doesn't mean that anybody's willing to entertain an offer. And so far, nobody's entertained any of these real offers.
Everything's for sale.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, if we're talking about like the U.S. arm, because it's not like they're buying TikTok.
Yeah, well, see, the thing is the thing that they want is the algorithm, and that is not for sale. Yes, somebody can grab the name TikTok in the U.S. maybe, but that's not what they're aiming for. The aim is the algorithm that gives the people what they claim they want. And so, like, yeah.
I'm surprised, like, Meta hasn't been able to replicate the algorithm, but it must just be that the users are on TikTok giving them the data.
Yes, I think that's exactly right, is that people are like, oh, the algorithms aren't as good. I don't think they've been using them and putting their input in as much because, like, they're like, oh, I've never used Reels. Okay, well, of course your Reels algorithm isn't going to be as good if you've never used it.
Right.
Grace. So I think there's a host of reasons why Facebook hasn't replicated. I think mostly because TikTok has become very addicting to Gen Z people by leveraging. It's super easy to get famous. Like you can get a lot of views and feedback and likes and comments, and they make it like that purposefully, and they'll do that on like 1 or 2 or 3 of your videos, and then you'll automatically drop and chase that.
Okay.
It's like a drug.
Yes.
I have a very large profile on TikTok that I manage, like a food one. I don't know where I'm at.
So they got you hooked.
No, I just because it was a big platform. I needed to learn it. I needed to learn it for clients so that I could expand my services. That's called Joy Food. Let me see where we're at right now. It can't be reached.
Yeah, you can't use it.
Were you about to go on TikTok?
Yeah, I just looked. I literally just tried to go, and I forgot. Because I forgot. But it's over 600,000 followers, over 13 million likes. Like I built it. Whatever.
How long did it take you to build that? Months.
Yeah, I think that you're right, Jimmy, that it's not, like, they can copy the algorithm, but it's just not, like...
It's not profitable to do that, because so Facebook had created... And so when I built profiles on Facebook, and I built, profiles past 100,000 subscribers or whatever, and there was a moment in time where you couldn't reach your own followers, and they gated it. They gated it, and you had to pay when you post. You have to pay to make sure that you hit everyone's feed, because that's the only way they can turn revenue and continue to grow. Whereas TikTok, I guess because the parent company is Chinese, and China's pretty scammy, and I think the government's backing TikTok, so they don't have the same capital restraints. They can get the money from the Chinese government, so they can run this subsidized business model using Chinese money.
Yeah,
essentially.
And I really believe, like, that, I I believe there's a purpose to their fucking algorithm and the way that it snatches our attention for hours at a time with absolute bullshit.
It's addicting for sure. It's a very addicting. One thing that concerned me when you joined, because it took a little bit for my algorithm to change, but they really push really young children at you.
Yes, and the trans narratives are strong in a lot of their algorithms.
Yeah.
There's very specific narratives that make me really just agree that it's a propaganda arm of the Chinese government. I don't think it's not a great app, but I think it's just a propaganda tool for the Chinese government to make us unproductive and believe bullshit.
So I put the link to the Truth Social post from Trump. Basically, he says he's going to do an executive order to delay, and then he's going to push for a 50-50 joint venture so that the Chinese company can still own half of the U.S. presence, but the U.S. company needs to own half of it. We'll see if that's something they're willing to do.
I was going to say, I'd wonder if they are even willing to entertain that.
TikTok is transing our kids.
Nah, China is not backing down. They're not selling that up.
Yeah, I don't think they're even going to consider selling it.
If it was any other country, maybe, but Chinese, come on now.
And to watch the people beg like this is the perfect reason not to.
50-50 joint venture is what China does with foreign companies typically. It would not be surprising if they did agree to the 50-50 joint venture because they still.
Well, they'll probably agree to a 51-49.
Yeah.
So I've never used TikTok, but they have a TikTok shop or something?
Yes.
So now that TikTok is shut down, is that shop
yes.
Is that a separate site?
No, it's in the same app. So you're not buying stuff off TikTok shop neither.
Oh wow.
Yeah, all those people that quit their job to become a TikTok creator, shop influencer. SOL.
Hopefully they gave it 2 weeks. Yeah, I have a friend actually, Grace. It's funny you asked that. That said she was about to return something on Monday.
Oh no.
She doesn't even know if it's
oh my gosh. I know a couple people out of a job right now trying to get me to join that thing. I'm like, I'm good. When everybody's doing something, it's not a good thing.
But I would agree with Jimmy's assessment that they weren't actually the most profitable venture. I think that the Chinese government was just propping it up.
Yeah, they've been doing that all over the world with the ports. Paying for it.
And I mean, I read this statistic. I'm still very skeptical over if this is a real number, but apparently there's 170 million active users on TikTok in America, which is almost more than half of Americans. I'm not believing that, but that's what I've read. So if that's the case, I mean, it's got a very far reach.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that number is pretty good. This was Clubhouse's chance to try to get some people back on their app.
Honey, calm down. Clubhouse is trying to run us all out of here. They're not trying to expand. They're not trying to do nothing. These features that they've been giving us, no, they would have been giving us at least one good feature if they wanted people to stick around.
Yeah, we were really keeping this company alive.
Are you guys
mic button yet?
They did. They did those two. They did feed.
Hey,
they fixed the swipe thing. That was good.
No, the mic button's still busted.
Who's echoing?
Sorry, it's probably me. I was getting ready to say something. Were you guys talking about RedNet? Is that what you were talking about?
No. We were talking about TikTok.
Oh, okay. I thought you were maybe talking about how a lot of TikTok users are leaving and going to RedNet, which is...
No, I don't even think that's worth talking about. If I'm being honest, I think it's just complete shenanigans.
For sure. They said people were signing up. They didn't realize they agreed to sign up for the the military over there in China?
That was a joke, but yes.
Wait, what?
Nah,
What is that?
People were like posting and they were like getting a letter in the mail from the CCP saying it's time for me to join the Chinese army because of the red no terms and conditions.
Oh my god.
I can imagine. All right, I'll be on this listening mode only. I gotta pick up a passenger. Like $9 to get into this.
Are you doing Uber?
Hell no, I'm just what do you call that thing? Car sharing, ride sharing? Because we both have to go to the city, so I'm just gonna pick her up.
Ooh, now the Trump pay every time, right?
I know, right? Oh wait, I'm gonna be like $5.
What I will say is
discount pass like a year?
No, nothing like that.
I will say I've seen some pictures like, and they said that the congestion pricing fixed the congestion.
It really did though. It takes me 15 minutes quicker to get into the city. That's even without going through the tunnel. Like it takes 43 minutes most of the time when it used to take an hour, maybe hour 5, or 10 on a bad day, which is pretty normal. A lot of people, but the businesses are suffering too. These people are like, yo, nobody's eating or at these places. It's either going uptown or Brooklyn. Oh, yeah.
But bitches do complain about the traffic.
Right. But we'll see. Summertime will be fine. I think people,
Yeah.
It's a lot more walkable. Even if you're not taking the train, buses kind of still run a little better. It's crowded.
In the summertime, living's easy.
Come on, Lana Del Rey.
Did you guys talk about this link that Andrew pinned already?
I don't know, what is it? No, I don't think I've heard anybody talk about it. Oh, yeah, no, I don't. Nobody's talked about this.
I'm kind of curious. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, apparently one of the states, or I think it was like a state or two, started collecting names of people that were agreeing or supporting the fact that Luigi Mangione shot the United Healthcare CEO. So they were keeping a list of who thought that it was appropriate.
Oh yeah, I get that. I'm gonna go look at it.
Just another instance of government surveillance so that we can act surprised.
And I don't know who said it, maybe Soren. Soren was probably right. Hamas takes care of Hamas. The only people that made anything here is Hamas. They released their own prisoner. They maybe gain more support in the West Bank, maybe in Gaza. But the people that are paying the price are the Palestinians, are the people in Gaza. They lost 45,000 people. They have more than 100,000 people wounded. They have Gaza in rubble, and they will be now living in tents for years. Not Hamas. Hamas are the people with money there.
They're the same as Hamas. They are Hamas. They are Hamas.
Okay. What Daniel just said is a bunch of lies. Number one, the Hamas people he's talking about who got money, their leadership was killed. And actually, in fact, the leader of Hamas was killed not in his office, not in his tunnel. He was killed while fighting the IDF in Gaza. That's number one. A true hero, a leader like those leaders we read about in the history books that don't exist anymore. That's number one. Number two, I wish anybody in this room other than me spoke Arabic, because you can go on Twitter right now and see when Hamas, in my picture, handed the Israeli prisoners to the Red Cross, tens of thousands of Palestinians were surrounding them, cheering them, chanting for Hamas, pronouncing their love for Hamas. If you don't believe me, go on Twitter and find it with subtitles.
We saw that.
Yes, so claiming that there are three parties, Israel, Palestinian people, and that Hamas is bullshit. Who are Hamas, guys? Do you know who Hamas are?
Hamas are the Palestinians in Gaza.
Children,
they're all of them.
Hamas are the children, the husbands, the fathers, the uncles, the grandfathers of the people in Gaza. Stop the bullshit, bro. Like, it's funny having an Israeli telling me, oh, it's Palestinians lost.
When were you in Gaza, Prince? When were you in Gaza?
The Palestinians lost 45,000 people. Yes, because you killed them. Because you killed them. Not because Hamas killed them.
No, because Hamas killed them.
You killed them.
Why did they hide behind Hamas?
Can I reply to you now?
Why did Hamas hide underground? Let me ask you something. All of that conflict, why couldn't they build one bomb shelter?
Okay, sorry.
One bomb
I'll
shelter.
be back in 2 minutes. I have to make a phone
I mean, you lost them all. Prince, one bomb shelter. One. No, you can't do that. You can't do that. Your strategy is to hide behind civilians
bomb shelter, yes.
while you shoot your guns.
Know why we don't have bomb shelters?
Prince, you couldn't give a damn about
Do you know why we don't have bomb shelters? Isa, can you ask the question?
Yeah, what?
Isa, can you ask me the question?
What question?
Bitch ass, I thought you had to make a phone call.
No, they have shelters. They have shelters. They even ask Hamas. They ask Hamas why you're not letting people in the tunnels, and they said that the tunnels are only for Hamas. And I want to reply to what you said, Prince. You are talking about You are talking about. Listen. No, I want to reply to what you said. I want to reply to. She didn't ask you a question. She didn't ask you a question. She didn't. I want to reply to what you said.
I know. So, Prince, we heard what you had to say, and now Daniel wants to reply to what you had to say. So now it's your time to.
No one cares about the bomb shelter right now. I'm talking about
the Palestinians and.
So you wait till your time. They have bomb shelters. They just not allowed. They have bomb shelters. Listen, wait for a second. Wait.
So-called Israelis have bomb shelters, Daniel.
Okay, great. Thank you. Listen, you didn't ask.
Israeli citizenships don't have bomb shelters. Tell them what.
Thank you. Now can I?
Why?
Are you now okay?
Why?
Now can I reply? Can I reply now? Thank you. So,
that's funny. It's funny.
Are you done, Prince?
I said I'm gonna take a phone call. Soren, go ahead.
Okay, go take a phone call. Go take a phone call. So don't need to. How can you speak to me while you're taking a phone call?
And then come back, and when you're
I guess. Okay, let everybody know.
So people in Gaza. Oh my God! Please, can you mute the fuck up?
I hate this room.
My God, he doesn't shut up, this man. So Prince is not. I don't know when was the last time he was in Gaza, but people that actually live in Gaza, they know that there are two castes in Gaza. The people that are affiliated with Hamas, those are those 10,000 people that we see them, and the rest of the people, which we don't see, which are the poor people that are not necessarily supporting Hamas, and they are like the second-class citizens of Gaza. And people like Prince equate Hamas with the Palestinians, which maybe is right, you know, and then we can say, okay, they are all Hamas, but there are two kind of levels in Gaza, and Prince doesn't know about Gaza more than me. The fact that he's Palestinian that was born in the United States doesn't make him more knowledgeable of what's going on in Gaza. And I think he's gaslighting the Palestinians that actually in Gaza. And I'm saying it because I actually met a Palestinian that fled Gaza and talked to him. And this is the stories that he told me about how he and his friends are brutally oppressed by Hamas. But they say we don't have freedom of speech. When we speak, we are being arrested or executed. And then people like Prince parade only the Hamas propaganda because there are 10,000 people. There are 2.3 million people in Gaza. The fact that you see 10,000 people means absolutely shit.
Is it fair to say, Daniel, that by releasing the PLO and FAT, the opposite groups in Palestine, Hamas actually sent a message to other Palestinians with different perspective and those who oppose to Hamas that we think about Palestine as one unity. Otherwise, they could have asked for the release of their own supporters, like only Hamas-affiliated members. In reality, they asked for the release of many non-Hamas-affiliated members, including the Fatah and PLO.
Oh, I didn't know this. I didn't know
that. It's very smart by them because, like I said, I speculate their popularities are going to grow even among those Palestinians who disagree with Hamas.
How many prisoners do you think that Israel has that is only Hamas? I want to remind you that for the first 33 hostages, 2,000 prisoners are being released. Let's say, according to you, they would choose only Hamas people. How many people are Hamas in prison?
I don't think
they have enough?
I don't think you didn't get the point. My point was not.
I think you didn't get the point. I'm not sure it's a message. I think it's like they didn't have any other
but
option.
what he's saying is that, I mean, if you were only Hamas prisoners, it wouldn't have mattered if it was 200 or 500. They would have focused just on that. It didn't have to be 2,000. They made that number so that they could accommodate other terrorists from the other organizations.
But that happened also in the last exchange with Gilad Shalit and the one we had in November.
That's what Soren is implying, that they're actually wanting to be supportive to each other so that they can act almost like a Palestinian unity and not as a group. You know, I mean, not as an isolated group of terrorists, but like as a unity of Palestinians. Like we are all one.
I understand. I'm just saying that there are other actions that they also. I mean, we had like 3 hostages releases. We had the Gilad Shalit, and then we had the one in November, and now we have now. So this is one message. But the other message, for example, is when Hamas executes 700 Fatah members. That's kind of like a different message. Or that they disagree. You know, they had this China agreement, right? Supposedly, but it didn't really last.
This is part of the complexities of the Muslim world, let's say, and this is also part of like the religious conversation. You know, when we're trying to judge them based on our own understanding and our own paradigm, you know, like the way that we understand our world, we are trying to we project it onto their logic, and that doesn't work. I mean, look at the Muslims. Like when it comes to fighting an enemy, all of the fuckers are together. You know, like they are a unity. Now, when it comes to setting hold on, Yirmiyahu, I haven't stopped talking, dude. You're making me lose my train of thought. When they are looking then to implement ahead of the Muslim world, then they're killing each other. So it is a complex environment. It is a complex dynamic that they have amongst them.
You said they're only unified. They're only unified when they fight the Jews. That's it.
Yeah,
unified. They're not unified against any other enemy. They're not unified internally amongst their internal enemies. They're not unified against the European enemies. They're only
actually they are, Yirmiyahu. When you see when you see that people talk here about terrorism and deporting them and whatever, they're all like, oh no, like they all unite, you know, as Muslims. But when it comes to defining who has got the power in amongst them, they kill each other. So it could be as well be just the same thing in that Palestinian culture, Daniel. I mean, yeah, they kill each other because they want to be the head of the monster, but ultimately they unite, you know, when it comes to a common enemy. In this case, Israel. You're completely right, Yirmiyahu.
Lately, in the last, I think, month, the PA is conducting many operations in Judea and Samaria against Hamas and militants of Hamas. And I think that Soren knows this. I don't know if you are aware of this, of the operation that the PA is conducting. And there's a lot of backlash against them. But the PA is trying to kind of show a message, maybe to the world, maybe to the American administration, that they are a legitimate force, while Hamas is not a legitimate force.
Yeah, why do you think that is? Because they want to get into power. The PA has been kind of like the opposition.
Yeah, I'm talking about
but they're still doing the same shit.
But if Hamas grows in popularity, it will severely harm the Palestinian cause.
I know, but Hamas also, remember, I mean, I don't know if I am right in saying this or not, but please correct me. The PA is not recognized as a terrorist group, right? Hamas is globally recognized as a terrorist group. So the PA, I mean, like...
Switzerland, Cesar, not by Switzerland.
Who, Hamas?
Yes.
Or the PA?
I think.
Oh. Well, yeah, I mean, like, there are a few that say, like, yeah, well, just like Hezbollah, you know, but, like, the main countries, you know, the most powerful countries in the world, they recognize them, they have them in the blacklist. But for example, the PA is seen as a more, quote-unquote, legitimate political force. So if the Palestinians are smart a little bit, you know, after all that inbreeding, if they are a tiny little bit smart, they will abandon the narrative of Hamas and they will stand behind the PA, even if it's for deception, even if it's just for like showing that they are good-willed, you know, in front of Israel, so that Israel allows the PA to get into Hamas and to have control of the Palestinian territory. I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy and I'm completely wrong, but I don't trust any of these groups. I don't think any of them are goodwill, you know. I don't think any of them, I don't know. Maybe it's just my Islamophobia. I don't know.
Well, Biden just said something interesting. He said that Hamas will be removed from power in the second phase of this agreement. Now, he may be senile, but I mean, that's a really interesting statement.
Yeah, dude, but here I go to what Prince was saying before, and I don't know if you were in the room, but Prince made actually a good question. It's like, who do you think is Hamas? Hamas is not a body, it's not just like a political party that you can dissolve and it's gone. No, Hamas is an ideology. So, yeah, Hamas will probably go through a rebranding, and it will not be called Hamas while they're still in the government of Gaza. But they will still have the same fucking ideology of wanting to kill the Jews and Israel and getting them out of there. They will never stop fighting with Israel. It doesn't matter if it's called Hamas or PA or whatever, the Palestinian case, whatever.
As time goes on, obviously the restraint that Israel has had is wearing thin. And obviously, Israel has the military capability to have harsher and harsher and harsher counterattacks against these guys. That's why, you know, we're clearly headed towards a decisive phase. The Palestinians in Gaza either have to be pacified or once however many hostages get out, as are going to, then it's going to be a phase that Israel is going to want to be conclusive, which means they're going to do a more rapid, more destructive offensive that clearly the Palestinians, you know, don't really understand what that's going to be like. And there'll be no one to stop Israel. There won't be the U.S., there won't be Biden constantly pumping the brakes. So...
I invited you on stage. Sorry, Dana.
But Biden, the way for him making that comment is basically saying there will be no second phase of the deal.
Yeah, but...
Because obviously Hamas won't agree.
Yeah. Anyway, so, Abby, I read about a warship, but I thought that was like a couple of days ago.
The U.S. warship that got attacked, and then some of the escorts to the ship also by the Houthis. They're still going to be fighting in the region. I mean,
but was that just now?
Yeah, just like in the last 48 hours.
Okay, yeah, because I read something about that, but it was, I think I read it yesterday. But I thought it was a different
one. Yesterday. I can't remember, not Roosevelt, Truman, maybe? I'm trying to remember the name of the ship.
But the big question is, how does the fighting influence the political outcomes? The political outcomes are much more important because that's what's going to like decide the future.
Mike,
there's a statement from the Prime Minister. There's a statement from the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Okay, the release of 3 hostages today is wonderful and long overdue news after months of agony for them and their family. families. Among them is British citizen Emily Damari. It's nice that now they remember to talk about their British citizens, who will now be reunited with her family, including her mother Amanda, who has never stopped her tireless fight to bring her daughter home. I wish them all the very best as they begin the road for recovery and the intolerable trauma that they have experienced. We stand ready to offer assistance and support. However, today also represents another day of suffering for those who haven't made it home yet. So while this ceasefire deal should be welcome, we must not forget about those who remain in captivity under Hamas. We must now see the remaining phases of the ceasefire deal implemented in full and on schedule, including the release of those remaining hostages and the surge of humanitarian aid into Gaza. The UK stands ready to do everything it can to support a permanent and peaceful solution. Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
Oh, I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to show support to the Palestinians as well.
Well, that's why this deal is good, because it's a trap for Hamas. It's a trap that basically forces them to have to release all the hostages or be pacified. And if they don't, then the war comes right back on, and everything they gained from releasing those hostages, they immediately lose. So I think the structure of the deal favors Israel a lot on balance.
Oh my God, Mike! I don't know in what world are you living?
In a world where you simply measure the advantages and disadvantages.
It's good to see that you're optimistic.
Okay, hold on. Let's see his logic. Mike, how does the war just go right back? Like, what do you think they just like? Mike, let me ask. Mike, hold it. Chill for a sec. You think they just like walk back over to Gaza and like start up? They had an infrastructure set up in Gaza that they have to move from now. Okay, they're still in the Philadelphia corridor, but up in the north, they have to abandon what infrastructure they have. They just don't go back in. They have to set up again. It's not like the next day, we're rolling in and we're back at war. There is a process.
There's airstrikes. Okay. I mean, the airstrikes can immediately resume. The airstrikes are what is the most destructive and kind of terrifying for people. It's that's what the people on the ground who. The Palestinians who, are there, if the airstrikes start back up again, that's very negative for them, of course, and for Hamas as far as getting bombed again. And as far as retaking the territory, that is true. Re-entering these places, there is some cost to that. Some soldiers will die as that happens. But at the end of the day, Gaza is a physically small territory. And basically, Israel has learned. They've learned better tactics as this war has happened. They can smash in through to these areas as needed. It's not costless, but they give the order and the tanks roll.
I think Abi is right. And I mean, just resuming, the war, it's not just easy because they will lose, let's say, the domination that they had over the territory, and that will be costly again in order to gain that back. However, I will say that once the hostages are released, I think there will be, it should be easier for them. Now, the trick here is that, if I understood well, Daniel, is that at the end of the first phase, on the day right after, they should have already an agreement, right, on how it's going to move forward. So to not continue the war. Because otherwise, let's say Gaza and Hamas would have lost their leverage with the hostages that they had held. And then, Israel could just easily bomb that shit out of Gaza, and eliminate them.
So one of the problems that is in the ceasefire agreement that basically the negotiations start on the day 16. And the ceasefire will continue for as long as the negotiation will continue. So I'm not sure exactly at what point, Israel can say, okay, we stop it, because they can disagree, and if they disagree, it can also last for months. We just had it for months before the ceasefire agreement was discussed. It doesn't have to be days. Well, this is something that is very missing.
There's an official deadline to the first phase. When that deadline passes, basically either side could resume hostilities if there's an impasse in the negotiations. I mean, Israel's not going to sit there for 3, 4, 5 months if Hamas is not releasing more prisoner or hostages and the negotiations aren't panning out. I mean, Israel will set some deadlines for this, I'm sure.
I'm saying that in the agreement right now, it says that the ceasefire will continue as long as the negotiations are ongoing.
But just think about what happened in Lebanon. They waited for Lebanon for an entire year. And
Lebanon is something else. With Lebanon, there is mechanism in case there are fragments and there's like timelines. In here, there are a lot of things that are missing from this. There is no mechanism.
Did you see it? Daniel, did you see all the cheering and all the alleged civilians cheering in Gaza? So also, there's a very strange comment from Kitover.
But this hurts them in the next round.
Wait, let me just say this. Can I just get a sentence out? There's a very strange comment from Witkoff saying that he wanted to move 2 million Gazans somewhere else, like Indonesia. Has anyone heard this?
Yeah, I saw that.
No, can you tell us?
And it's just, it was a flash.
Not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea. It was Witkoff suggesting that they move the civilians in Gaza to another country. And Indonesia was one of them. Mike, did you hear any other country?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I saw that. It was Indonesia was mentioned, but the question is, how realistic is that? I don't think there's much realism there. At least not anytime soon.
So here's the thing. Hamas, according to Mike Waltz, in his most recent interview, he was very clear that Hamas will, under an American perspective, will never be in power again in Gaza. That he called them monsters, and he said they will absolutely never rule in any fashion in Gaza. So that's the American. This is not the Israeli statement. This is coming from Mike Waltz, the incoming security advisor, national security advisor. So you tell me how that's going to play out from the American perspective in this deal.
But is that desire or is that reality? I mean,
that's reality. That is the official position. Wait, God, Mike, that's the official position of the National Security Advisor who is coming in 24 hours.
So it's more hawkish than what the Democrats have been sounding off. But at the end of the day, somebody has to go in there and actually physically do that. There has to be a political replacement for Hamas for the millions of people who are still in Gaza. So it's easier said than done. Anyone can make claims, have goals, but if there's not a real process to make that happen, then it's just a slogan. It doesn't really mean anything.
You can have an international.
It means something.
Like a UNIFIL? That worked great.
No, it means something. You really think that he's going to make a statement like that and Trump's not going to back it up?
He tripled down on it.
The Nobel Peace Prize. Trump
did you hear him
very
say
self-serving. He doesn't care about Israel's long-term.
He tripled down on it. Waltz tripled down on it, and then you hear those comments also out of Marco Rubio. I mean, you just go across the board on who's going to be in that region.
Exactly.
I'm asking from a U.S. perspective, okay? Just how this is going to play out.
But that would require a resumption of the war or some kind of political scheme to outmaneuver Hamas.
No. I mean, the one thing, Trump, that's what he says. Okay, and as far as keeping Hamas out of power, look, Israel could do that on their own. That's really not that difficult. But now you got the U.S. backing them
for 15 months with their troops in Gaza. So it's clearly harder than.
They kicked the shit out of him in Gaza. What are you talking about? They kicked the shit out of him.
Hamas is still in charge. They're still controlling.
They're not in charge. The IDF is in charge.
Look,
the IDF is in charge.
All over. Hamas is controlling the strip.
They are in. The IDF is in charge. Okay, fine. You want to go with fantasy wins? Go with fantasy wins.
Yeah, but the IDF
you're right. Hamas is doing so well.
The IDF is distributing the aid.
Yeah, because there's certain issues with that you already know of.
But
the problem is
Hamas has done so well.
True when
Hamas
the
has
facts
killed
on the ground.
Wait a minute. So Hamas killed 400
I mean, if the war ends in the configuration it is today, Hamas survived. They made it through. They're still in power within Gaza. Something new has to happen for them to be permanently deposed, either politically or with police action or with military action. But it remains to happen. It hasn't happened yet. The problem is that these guys can say one thing today, but when the war starts up again, they're going to be singing a different tune. Maybe. That's the worry.
The U.S. is going to sing a different tune on this under Trump. That's what you're saying?
Well, I mean, we don't really know what kind of military offensive could really eliminate Hamas permanently. I mean, they have these tens of thousands of new recruits.
Yeah,
they blend in with the civilians. Unless there's something to replace them,
it will
some
be a
kind of
game of
strong police force.
Let me ask you something. All these new recruits, because I'm actually really curious about this, all these new recruits, so they could be trained in a weekend and they're going to be effective fighters, right?
No, but they'll be effective.
They're not going to be fighters. They're not going to be like the North Koreans going into Ukraine and being picked off.
But they'll be able to suppress any other moderate Palestinian faction that tries to run Gaza. Sure, the battle with Israel will have to wait a few years until they can rebuild more long term. But in the short term, they can retain control of Gaza with those soldiers unless something actually disrupts them, which hasn't happened yet. It doesn't seem to be on the horizon as far as I can see.
No, I see it. They're doing well.
Can you please?
I mean, all the ideas are going to do. They see something, they're going to go right in.
Ian. Can you please just not talk while you have food in your mouth and are chewing? Can you please just make sure you swallow first and then you speak? Thank you.
Yes, don't spit, swallow.
I mean, I have a feeling this ceasefire falls apart rapidly after this first phase. Because there's just no scope for the negotiations, at least now that Biden is throwing a wrench in them.
Biden? No, I don't think so.
Well, he just claimed that
he's coming in on Tuesday.
He just claimed that Hamas will be removed in the second phase. I mean, this is his ceasefire deal that he set up. I mean, that's now the policy of the United States.
If Biden was the one that was in charge here, now I'd have very little confidence in that. With Trump in charge, it's going to happen.
Well, it's funny how people trust Trump so much. I mean, I think that's kind of naive to trust Trump.
I'm looking at what he's done in the past.
How many wars started under Trump?
None. How many people has he taken out under Trump? He's basically backed everything he said.
Right, but the thing is, Trump is making these push for peace before Israel has actually accomplished their war goals.
You really think that the conversation between Trump and Netanyahu, you really think you know everything that was discussed? You don't think that there's something that they're holding off that you might find out about in 6 months or a year?
I think Trump wants the Nobel Peace Prize, even if that hurts Israel's security.
What were you saying?
I was asking what wrench is Mike talking about that Biden threw into this, besides being Biden the whole entire time of where we're at today?
Well, Biden just claimed that Hamas will be removed from power in the second phase of this deal.
Yeah, I gotta tell that to the guy. To the guy in Doha that was spouting his fucking mouth off, that was saying how this is not the end.
And I claim to be the king. I came to be the king of it.
Well, I mean, dude, I tend to believe Hamas when they talk about how this is not the end, and they believe this is a victory, and they believe blah, 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 and more so than that they're going to be committing more October 7, and this fight is not over, and blah, blah, blah. And when you see the tens of thousands, and contrary to Daniel's opinion from earlier, I believe they're all fucking Hamas in Gaza, okay? That's it. They're all Hamas.
Again, Yirmiyahu, I mean, in any case, like, shouldn't they reach a negotiation on a final agreement during the first phase to be implemented on the day right after the finalization of the first phase?
Well, they simply didn't.
I think she was asking Yirmiyahu, Mike.
I mean, should they have? I mean,
Mike, listen, I like you, Mike. But she asked me specifically. I started talking, and then you talk right over me. It's rude. I think that you said to be fair about it, this is a deal with the devil. It's not even a real deal. Like, let's get our people back, and then we're returning to fighting. The number one thing that the Israelis put the absolute hard line on, that they were not willing to negotiate no matter what, no how, nothing, was that this war is not over, and we're not, the fighting is, it's up to us. It's up to us. It's up to the Israeli people. This fight is not over, and when our enemies are swearing to continue to kill us, this war is not over. And when they go out in the streets and they celebrate like this is some kind of a victory, and not only a victory, but they're yelling in that big crowd with Prince and his fucking lies that he was telling earlier, what he leaves out is they're yelling, Khyber, Khyber, Hayud. We are the soldiers of Mohammed Death, and they support October 7 100,000%. And that they want to continue this fight. And if they want to continue this fight, it is our duty. It is our duty to rise and kill them first. We cannot allow them to be a threat on our border. Period. End of story. And they are all the fucking same. Whether it's Hamas or PIJ or Fatah or any one of these other fucking Palestinian terrorist organizations, they're all the same. And until we have a decisive defeat of our enemy, and they accept that this is a loss, it's not over. Until their leaders of Hamas and PIJ and Fatah say, no, we surrender and we want to live with Israel as our neighbor, this is not over, okay? And we shouldn't be so naive, okay? And we have to break free from this hostage for prisoner paradigm in which we are stuck in, because it only perpetuates and incentivizes them to continue the strategy, which apparently has been working, because a lot of the world is running around in the streets thinking that now somehow the Palestinians won this war, because we decided to stop beating their face into the ground. It's a victory. So until they say they lost, it's not over. And Mastery, you and the fucking Egyptians are next.
I 100% agree.
Hold on. Why are you so offensive?
To answer to that, I just want to say that I 100% agree with you, Yirmiyahu. I think that the international community has never allowed Israel to have a clear win and a clear defeat, and that's the reason why you keep having all these bullies around you, because they know that they can get away with it. Because ultimately there will always be a negotiation, there will always be a draw. It has never been a clear defeat. And these guys have zero intention of treating you as proper neighbors. They say it all the time. They would never. First they're dead, then actually living in peace with Israel. And this is the narrative that they have. So I agree with you. I think that Israel should not weaken their determination, against finishing up with this enemy, because otherwise you guys are just gonna drag this bullying for decades and decades until forever, until you're done with them.
But there's a hold on, please. I just wanted to comment because there's something this person had said here. You said fucking Egypt is next. Serious? Okay.
Oh, what's
come on, brave. If you're really brave enough, come and show your fucking brave ass. And we will kick it again.
You're not going to go to war with Egypt.
Egyptian, just
let it be.
Get over the insult, get over your feelings, and if you want to address anything
I've been installed mastery as an individual, but
exactly. You see?
People are next to mastery.
Okay, go ahead. Come and show your brave ass, and let's kick it again. Sure.
Masri, today, modern state-on-state wars are driven by Air Force. Okay, Egypt would be routed soundly, but it's not going to happen. It's just that's not how the chessboard is set up these days. So Israel will not be fighting Turkey. They will not be fighting Egypt. Those times have passed. Now, Hamas, though, the real question is, will Israel really generate the resolve to actually defeat them? I mean, it seems like there's a lot of left-wing suicidal idiots inside Israel. And, they didn't find the resolve after 15 months of war. Will it be found somehow? They're probably going to need a new prime minister. A prime minister who's not a waffler who plays both sides like Netanyahu always does. So, who comes into power next is probably going to decide whether they can be defeated.
Just start rambling. Like, obviously, there needs to be another power, but I agree with Yirmiyahu that, and it's just what I was saying. I don't know if you were before here in the room when I was saying it, Yirmiyahu, or when you left, but all of them are the exact same shit, just wrapped in a different color. Like the PA and all of them, all these groups are exactly the same thing. So whoever gets into power, it's just a rebranding of Hamas.
I'm talking about Israel's leaders, but that also is not true. There's details.
What is not true? That they're all the same?
No, they're not all the same. I mean, the PA periodically fights militants. That doesn't mean nothing. So the PA, in some respects, renounce violence as their official position. Yes, I know about pay to slay and all that, but
what do you know about pay to slay? What do you know about it, Mike?
Between them and
Mike, what do you know about pay to slay? Tell us what you know about it.
They pay for slay. I mean, that's still part of the
tell me how that works. Tell me how that works, Mike.
Well, the families of the terrorist attackers get subsidies.
And is that legal?
We know that.
Is that legal? Mike, is it legal?
Under what?
Mike?
Under what laws? I mean,
I'm asking in the United States. It's where you live. Is it legal to have that?
I mean,
is
not
it legal?
In the United States. I mean, but
is it legal for the United States? Let me rephrase my question, Mike. Mike,
soldiers go fight, and then
Mike,
the U.S.
stop
pays
talking for a second. Is it legal for the United States to give money to a country that does pay for slay? Is it, Mike?
I mean, is there a law that prevents that? I mean,
yes, I'm asking you.
So maybe there is a law.
I'm going to tell you, Mike, quiet. Go look at the Taylor Force Act. I want you to take a minute, go on your phone, and Google Taylor Force Act.
But does it have an executive?
Mike, yes, Mike.
Opt-out.
Whoa, does this guy talk over everyone? Mike, the Taylor Force Act, it is illegal, and the Biden administration violated the Taylor Force Act. Taylor Force Act was put into place when a U.S. veteran was attacked and killed by a terrorist, and the terrorist the family was paid for the slay. It came into law in the United States. I believe someone can help me on the year. It was probably 5 or 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, and it's our law. And the Biden administration has violated it and given money to those authorities that that participate in pay for slay.
But that's
so one of the things that has been one of the issues that you've been seeing in the Senate is to try to stop some of the acts of the Biden administration. They've circumvented how they get money into the PA, even though the PA has been paying the pay for slay. So they tried to give money to hospitals. If you remember when Biden went to Israel, he went to East Jerusalem and tried to put funds in, funnel it other ways to get it into the PA. But it is illegal. It is federal law, the Taylor Force Act, and we have been violating it.
But if the executive branch is not upholding the law, it's not like there's someone really standing behind them to enforce it.
Oh,
the executive
US
branch
Senate,
is the highest law enforcement power in the land.
Well, you've got the U.S. Senate that, you tell me, you have the Biden administration directly violating the law in the United States, the Taylor Force Act. So what do you do?
We have a long history of the U.S. keeping the PA funded. So is that policy going to change? I'm skeptical because, well, it has a long history, and people don't. There's no viable alternative to the position that the PA is in, and that's kind of a problem for Israel because
money to hospitals.
If you don't have some kind of more moderate political outlet for the Palestinians, then you're just creating an environment that pushes people to the terror groups. So that has been a larger
I'm talking about funding.
Problem.
I'm talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars being funneled in to entities that have paid for slay. That's what I'm talking about. It's illegal.
Okay, but they're doing it.
And that's the Biden administration.
Is illegal.
Yeah, they're doing it.
People do it.
He just said it was Israel's fault. That's what he just said.
He just blamed Israel. I know.
No, I mean, well, the thing is, Israel's, if they, obviously they're fighting Hamas.
If they just gave up,
being opposed to the PA2,
if they just gave up.
But the problem is, if Israel eliminates all of the political outlets for Palestinians, what did they expect them to do?
I expect the law to be enforced in the United States. That's what I expect.
But that doesn't answer the question.
When it's blatantly violated, when it's blatantly violated, the administration should be held accountable. Luckily, we've got less than 24 hours now. That's history. But they directly violated it, and there's a reason we don't give money to governments and entities that promote pay for slay.
That's great, but I mean, it's just silly to think that the Taylor Force Act is this master lever that's gonna lead to the end of this conflict somehow.
I didn't say it was gonna lead to the end of it.
So
talking about being a bad actor.
I saw some
so it's like without the PA, what's the alternative?
Can I quickly update?
Go ahead, Daniel.
I see a photo of Emily, one of the hostages, that she's talking with her family, and what I see is her left hand has band-aids over the middle two fingers that seems to be missing, and it's a fresh hand, so I don't think it's something that happened 15 months ago. But two fingers have been severed.
Oh my God.
We will know a bit later, but I see that it's actually now within, how do you call it, like the white, how do you call this, the white thing that you put on a bandage. Banded, yes. So it's banded.
Oh shit.
And I don't know why she's
injured.
Does it show blood? No, she's injured, she's smiling, she's very happy to be with her family. The family is very much excited. But hold on, I will put the picture. Hold on, so you can see.
These people are fucking sick, dude. I really cannot. Cannot fathom how is it that they. I mean, I understand the whole hostages situation and stuff, but doing a negotiation with them. Oh God.
So So it looks like fresh. It doesn't seem something that was, I don't know, 15
What do you
months
mean
ago.
fresh?
Maybe
No, but where do you see the freshness? I mean, like. Also, just the fact that he has got a bandage, he must be fresh.
Because it didn't happen during the sources said that she meant to betray us the whole time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if it had happened before, it wouldn't count.
Your politics bore me. And apparently, you alienated my favorite.
Once again, distract.
Yes, go ahead, Val. Mike, hold on, Mike.
Political side.
Just listening to this material is really interesting. I'm wondering, do you think you can accept Qatar as a good actor in this deal?
Check mark. It's like a lot, and it's well placed on a small tough question. Like it's in a way yes, but on the other hand, I cannot ignore the main difference between and the propaganda that they're doing against them. But it seems that just doing this negotiation, they will play a significant role. I don't know if it's to kind of appeal to the United States or whatever. I cannot tell if they're like a good faith after because of everything else that they're doing. But in the negotiation, yes, has been very important.
So it is in a way a deal off the devil, right? So, I mean,
I mean, opinion from us is a bit of the devil.
Mantra just said it had to happen.
Definitely a deal with the devil. It's definitely a bad deal. The question is, which seems most Israelis agree with, that it's a good idea to do a bad deal at this point. Meaning Israel has enough of an upper hand, and it's the only way to save these hostages' lives. So it's worth doing a bad deal. Well, no one's denying it's a deal with the devil, and you're negotiating with absolute animals.
Plus, we're deporting terrorists that we have in our prison. They're not going back to Gaza.
I don't see that as a major issue, the 90 or even up to 2,000 criminals. The major issue is is Hamas standing post a permanent ceasefire. An extra 2,000 murderers. I mean, you can buy that for a pretty cheap price.
Well, the reality is that most of them would have been quietly released by Israel eventually anyways. I mean, all these thousands and thousands of Hamas soldiers that were swooped up in this, Israel doesn't really have a plan for dealing with these kinds of things. So we'll see what happens with that. But people won't be watching it closely as time goes by. But this bigger issue of, and this is the hard question that Israel's supporters always run away from, is if you eliminate the PA as a viable political option for Palestinians, what does that leave them with? Like, what do you really expect them to do?
Integration of Gaza into Israel.
I don't understand this question.
Have fair elections, maybe? Like, how was the last time they had an election in the PA? Just tell me when that was, right?
So that's just saying the PA should reform. But I mean, that's the American position is the PA should reform.
Now, Mike, are you asserting as a pro-Palestinian argument that they cannot choose anyone besides Martin to run their country? I mean, because that's pretty anti-Palestinian.
Yeah, but that's exactly what the polls show. I mean, if the elections were held in territories to they would elect Hamas.
Can we establish that based on their behavior over not only the last 15 months, but starting at October 7th, but at many points prior to that they have disqualified themselves, the Palestinian people that live within Judea and Samaria and Gaza, they have disqualified themselves from the ability to govern themselves. They've disqualified themselves.
But what are you going to do with them then?
Well, it's one Jewish state. One Jewish state. They've disqualified themselves from self-governance. They've proven themselves incapable. They've proven themselves incapable of living in peace with their neighbor. And as most demonstrated by
want more October 7th.
So Mike, you want your enemy to confess their defeat. Hold on. You want them to be defeated. You want to defeat them. And you want them to confess they are there. And one stage solution, Jewish, and they still stay still. Is that what you expect?
Austria still doesn't admit they lost the Yom Kippur. So this is going to be hard to explain to an Egyptian.
Sorry again? What are you talking about?
It's going to be difficult to explain to an Egyptian when they surrender means. But yes, we want them to surrender. And there are no alternative to a one-state solution. They will remain under occupation until they can elect a government that doesn't kill their neighbors.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Not too much to ask.
Very good. I agree with that. But agreeing with, yes, we defeat them. They are our enemies. Jew haters. Let's finish them. And they confess them instead of 10 years. And one state solution. And you expect nothing from that?
Backfire in a lot of ways. Mastery, 2 words. Unconditional surrender. I know this is a tough concept, but they started a war of aggression. They lost the war. It's time to have an unconditional surrender.
But you could end up with just Hamas.
Well, you cannot say unconditional.
In a way that they have more difficult to defend against. And the PA would be, consigned to history and disappear. And then basically you have terror nests in the West Bank with millions and millions of people.
This is very, very boring. I don't know if you're entertaining yourself by these hypothetical loops or logical twists, but it's boring.
This is cognitive dissonance on your side.
Very cool. I'm bored.
Vance, you said something I need to be sure about if I heard you right.
Just
said that
Egyptian, just a second. I wanted. Yirmiyahu went to the phone. Maybe Mary, you can tell me. I mean, I guess you support one Jewish state as well, right? No, I support an occupant. No, I don't want citizens. I don't want Palestinians getting the privileges of being Israeli. No, I want occupation until they can elect a government that doesn't kill their neighbors. Well, that's kind of a wishful. I mean, I agree with you on the fact that I don't want 6 million Israelis that want to kill me. That's stupid. But at the same time, you can't leave this place ungoverned, because if you do that, then in the absence of power still comes from somewhere. So it's going to be Iran. It's going to be Turkey. Any weird place. That is not us.
But are you talking about Gaza?
I agree with that. I wanted a definite occupation until there's a peaceful government. But you can't expect them to elect one because they don't know what it is.
And also, what would their territory be? What's the point of electing a sovereign government with no sovereign territory?
They can have it. They will offer territory 100 times and they'll offer 100 more. All they have to do is elect a government that's peaceful. It's a really one requirement.
So you're going to give up East Jerusalem. You're going to give up all of these things that are part of the supposed West Bank territory
for peace. For peace, yes. We offered. For peace, the Likud has offered that multiple times. Omar's offered it.
But they're going to be under occupation until they
finish the sentence.
Until they acquiesce to that, but realistically, they're going to do the opposite. Realistically, the PA is going to be dismantled piece by piece, and you're going to have the uprising of Hamas in the West Bank and other forms of these terrorists, because that's what we already see. That's the reality on the ground right now.
Cool. You're predicting the future and telling the reality on the ground. It's extremely boring. I have no interest in getting stuck into one of your loops.
Well, that's just optimism bias. I mean, if you can't analyze the situation, that's your own problem.
Okay, cool. I can't analyze the situation. I'm with you.
Well, Mayor, what I'm hearing, what Mike is saying, is that unless we have full control, like in form of a police or some security forces at least, right? I mean, at the best, actually government control of money spending, of hospitals and education and all this stuff. Unless we do that in some form, I don't know in which form, there's going to be another power that's going to do it. It's not just going to be some good people are going to decide that okay, it's our time now. No, they don't know the concept of good government. They don't understand it. They never had it. Never seen this thing. Someone needs to establish it.
That's fine. That's not what Mike's saying. Mike is just going to argue with anything you say and twist it in circles. Let's ignore Mike. If you're saying that an infrastructure has to be built in order to create the government, I agree with that. My point is, you have to be very clear on what your end result is. The end result is a peaceful nation side by side. In order to get there, there has to be unconditional
unwavering idea of an indefinite occupation until there's a peaceful government. Now, if you're saying we should lay the building blocks or work with NGOs that are willing to lay the building blocks, that makes perfect sense. But this defeatist idea of we're just going to have to build a side with terrorists, let's take the lower level terrorists, it's retarded.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about NGOs. NGOs are not going to do anything. I'm talking about power, the government, the actual power, the power of force, the power to kill.
It's going to have to be the
That's the only power basically the government has.
It's going to have to be the occupation. I mean, you want to know who's going to direct the traffic, who's going to enforce, who's going to stop honor killings and all that? It's going to have to be
who's going to be the head of the police? Who's going to be that guy?
At the end of the day, you're talking about the two-state solution.
It's going to have to be controlled by Israel until there's someone that can take it over peacefully.
But by then, it won't be realistic because of all the settlements and, basically it's much more likely that Israel formally annexes Judea and Samaria.
Have something to say?
Then that's just much more likely than a two-state emerging anytime soon.
We also
your idea is premised on something where history is going the other way.
Cool story, kid.
What are we replacing UNRWA with?
It's simply true. You can not worry about it, whatever, but it's a reality.
Who's taking over for UNRWA?
Why does UNRWA have to be replaced? That's be dismantled. It does nothing.
Right.
UNRWA needs to be replaced.
It's been banned.
Why does it need to be replaced? It's not doing anything.
UNRWA needs to be replaced because it's inefficient and ineffective.
They really need to.
They do nothing. They do nothing for their own people. They do nothing.
They're in the middle of answering the question.
Yeah.
Ian,
So UNRWA. So the problem is that UNRWA is the only organization in the UN that perpetuates refugees after a generation. Every other refugee is managed by. But yeah, you may know this, but not everyone may know this. Everyone else is with the United Nations High Council on Refugees, which settle people somewhere else, so that way they can end the refugee status. This is the only one that they continue to, and that needs to end.
No, but Matt, I think people are missing my point. The PA needs to be replaced because they're doing something. They're directing traffic. They're enforcing laws. They're making sure that there's building codes. There's something the PA is doing. Now, the fact that they're not a good government, we need a good government there. UNRWA is useless. It needs to be dismantled and destroyed. It doesn't need to be replaced. We don't need permanent refugees. They're not doing anything that needs replacement. They just need to be defunded and ended.
Yeah, you have refugee organizations to take care of that. The UNRWA is useless. Absolutely.
The problem is why would the PA want to govern on behalf of Israel when there's no chance that the two-state solution will actually happen?
See, this is
never
why
get any sovereign territory.
This is why you're boring. You decided there's no chance, and then you decided why would a PA you're having a conversation with yourself.
Well, that's because I can look at a map and I can see all of the Jewish settlements all over the West Bank. I can look at East Jerusalem and I know that Israel will never be
No, you can't. No, you can't. I mean, let me ask you this: every two-state solution that was offered to them in the past, what exactly happened? Basically nothing.
No, that's my point.
And so here's the part that really gets me. So you think that everybody is going to stand on the sidelines on an area that, by the way, international law, you guys like to quote that? By international law, it's a disputed area. Okay? And Israel has every right to it, simply for the fact that that was the area where Israel was attacked. When the war ends, you don't go over to do-over positions and think you have no sacrifices to be made.
Right, but that's exactly my point. But why
what do you mean that's your point?
Why would the PA want to keep facilitating that when there's no realistic chance for them establishing a sovereign state with any sovereign?
So they have relevance.
No,
they have relevance, and that's basically about it. I mean, I've heard this stuff.
In this conversation, he has nothing to say. If the PA doesn't,
clearly he has nothing to say.
You guys just don't have answers because it's a very difficult.
No, actually, I listened to you. And he's right. You really have nothing to say, nothing to add. All I hear is complaining. I mean, let me ask you a stupid question. When the Korean War ended, okay, there was the United Nations organization, sort of like UNRWA, but that thing ended in 3 years. 3 years that thing was over.
But the North
Koreans going on for 76, 77 years? No, I mean, all I hear is excuses. And you know why UNRWA doesn't end? Because it's not worth it for the Palestinians for UNRWA to end. Why do they have their own organization and another organization does the rest of the world? And you don't even see, this is relatively embarrassing. You don't even see that. I mean, all you're interested in doing is sucking on the UN's tit, okay, and complaining and whining because you've got more than enough people that are sitting out there that are willing to fight to the last Palestinian, which, quite frankly, I think you're one of them.
Me?
Fine.
No, he's not.
I'm not pro UNRWA.
He's not pro
But
Palestinian.
you guys you don't seem to understand that the political context of the West Bank is what's significant in the future.
Cool story, kid. Does anyone intelligent have something to say?
Can I ask?
I mean, you're even following what's happening right now.
What did you say, Mayor? Mayor, hold on, everyone.
No, I
Just
said
try to do one at a time.
No, Mike is just going in circles. I want someone that has something actually to say.
Yeah,
it's basically I'm pointing out
Mike, can you mute Mike? Yeah, let someone else. Mike, you got to mute up for a little bit. Let some other people talk, okay?
I want to get here.
Because I think nobody knows what's happening.
Could you
Wait, no, hold on. One at a time. Dels is talking, right?
Yamiao, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
So, if I understood it correctly, your position is that there should be an administrative control. Basically, like we have the Area C, right? So we would do the same for Area B and A as we do for Area C, right? We have military and police and administrative control. Do you think this is a bold enough idea, like for Trump to support? Is it something that he would be ready to go for? I'm not sure. I mean, how bold he is in that sense, because
Rubio would be. Don't you think it would come through Rubio? Kind of. I mean, just go through like the system that's going to work it to get it up to Trump. Would probably be. It would be sold. I mean, two things. It would be sold to Rubio, and also you've got. I keep saying this in rooms. People forget it that you have the Senate Foreign Relations Committee that is diehard on this, much stronger than the Trump industry. I mean, from Lindsey Graham and Tom Cotton and what they're spewing and what they're believing. So you have two branches of government that are going to be pushing for this. So when you say, will Trump get behind it, I think you're going to see the Senate behind it as well. I don't know if that answers you.
No,
maybe I could chime in. Maybe I could just chime in on that since he addressed me directly, if you guys don't mind. I think 2025 and 2026, the first 2 years of the incoming Trump administration, will give the appropriate timing on the end of this current conflict, hopefully ending current conflict, in order for Israel to stand up and exercise sovereignty throughout the entirety of Judea and Samaria and Gaza, and that new ideas are going to have to be floated out there and opened up to, because the old paradigm of the two-state solution has been tried over and over and over again and failed. It's been offered over and over again and failed. An independent statelet like Gaza with a unilateral withdrawal has already been tried, not only in Gaza, but also withdrawing out of South Lebanon after the Second Lebanon War, and also withdrawing out of the Sinai, even with a peace deal with Egypt, has led to more terrorism and chaos in areas in which Israel has previously withdrawn from, that we are not going to be withdrawing from any more territory, and that we have to look forward to a new solution, which is not really being talked about yet, which is full sovereignty over this entire area, and looking at other ideas to provide some sort of autonomy for the Arabs living within Judea and Samaria, which claim to be Palestinian, which carry the Palestinian identity. These people should have some local governance, but they should not have the same sort of sovereignty that an entire nation state has, with the ability to have an army that is right on our border, because they have demonstrated their past behaviors to disqualify them of having that power. They have disqualified themselves. And until we see some sort of a surrender and defeat and a victory for Israel, this is going to continue. And I do hope that we will see that leadership. And I think coming in with Mike Huckabee, who says specifically it's Judea and Samaria, with Tom Cotton putting forth legislation in the Senate just in this past couple of weeks here, last week or so, which says specifically that all official documents coming from the United States should eliminate the West Bank and use the words Judea and Samaria, that these are clear signs. And when you hear what Marco Rubio has to say about this area, when you hear what the incoming National Security Advisor, Waltz, has to say about this, when you hear what the Secretary of Defense has to say about Hamas, okay, that we have the strongest pro-Israel government, I think maybe in the history of the relationship between these two countries, that now is the time for us to move forward for a new vision of one Jewish state. That's my opinion on that. And so yes, Vels, I think that the people in charge right now in Israel, I hope, and those in charge in the United States have the stomach to move forward with bold changes to reshape how we're handling this conflict.
It's just, there's no answers for what will happen to the millions of the Palestinians in the West Bank or Judea and Samaria.
What we can say is that the millions of Arabs living inside Israel enjoy a better quality of life than Arabs living anywhere else in the entirety of the Middle East. But the Arabs that live within Israel under the sovereignty of the Israeli government have more rights than any other Arab living in an Arab country.
Is the plan to supply those civil rights now to the Arabs living in the West Bank? Because it doesn't seem like that's on the table.
If first they have to surrender and agree to living under one Jewish state.
Well,
and
they're
then we can talk about
They're
the
not
nuance of it. Well, then more of them have to die, Mike.
Okay, well,
because
so that is exactly what I'm saying.
When your enemy swears and openly declares they want to murder you and kill all the Jews, it is our duty to stand up, to rise up and kill first. Okay? So until they can surrender their death to Israel, death to Jews mentality, it is our duty to kill them first.
So your plan is genocide in the West Bank.
That is not my plan.
It sure sounds like it.
I said that they need to surrender. That we need
so
to have
Mike,
a
this
defeat.
is why you're.
Well, they're not going to.
Mike, this is why you're useless to talk to. You're just going to go in circles forever. So you decided that the Palestinians will never talk. They will only want to kill until they die. Therefore, it will be a genocide. Based on what your claim is, your idiotic claim, they deserve genocide. But any intelligent person knows that as soon as Hamas is removed and these power structures coming from the outside, like Iran, is removed, they will not choose death. They will choose to live peacefully with their neighbors, unless you are such a big racist that you think the Palestinians would rather die than live in peace. And if that's the case, then that's what will happen. So now to stay on
it's
mute,
just a very
shut up,
unrealistic
Mike.
take.
It's boring.
You know, you're boring because you're such a fucking idiot.
I have no patience for circles.
He's so blind.
Bells, you keep saying you want to know other people's opinion. Are you agreeing with Yirmiyahu or closer to my fence?
Well, I agree that that's the only solution that we haven't tried yet. So, I can't think of any other one that we haven't tried yet. So, in those terms, yeah, I agree with that. We need to move into a different direction if we want a different result.
I'll tell you what we haven't tried yet. We haven't tried the carrot and the stick. This is what it'll take to get to a state, and there's no compromise until then. Death penalty for terrorists, no acceptance of moderate terrorists, no negotiations. But as soon as you're willing to play ball, you get a state, and a state without an army, without control of your borders in that way, because you're not to be trusted just yet. But every time Israel negotiated, they have compromised on who they negotiate with.
They're not going to. I don't agree. I think that we need to say that that two-state solution is dead and murdered on October 7th. That was the last straw. There's no more point in talking about it. So now let's talk about something different.
Here's why I don't like your plan.
The two-state solution is dead and done.
No, but this is why I don't like your plan, and not because of the plan. It's because you can't have it both ways. You can't annex the territory and not give a citizenship. That would actually be a part.
Is Abby still here? Abby, can you brief him real quick on David Friedman's
plan for the one Jewish state. I mean, from a political aspect of it, legal and political.
Is that David, like libertarian David Friedman?
David.
He is an ambassador to he wrote a book called One Jewish State.
Well, that's the reason I asked about the areas, right? The A, B, and C, because we already have something in place. We don't need to destroy like everything. We already have something in place that can work, I think. That basically if you change the control of Area C, make it like work under the terms of Area B, and then gradually move I'm sorry, no. Do you want me to spell it out how
No, I get what you're saying. You want Area A to go back to being Area C. But
no. Area C is administered by Israel. So Area C basically is what we want to gain both A and B, and you just do it gradually, basically from C to A.
No, but then you're not agreeing with Yamiel. C to A means creating a state, means making a secondary state.
Not necessarily. I think. I mean, it's still an autonomy, right? So you don't annex it really. You keep it autonomy. You just change the structure of power. Who administers who is administration?
The problem with that idea is it's a permanent occupation, which means that your great grandchildren are going to be serving in Judea, Samaria, and Gaza. Now, if that's the only solution, then fine. But there's hopefully an exit ramp where that can end. And the only way that can end is if the Palestinians take control and put into power a peaceful government. Now, I understand that's like a big step to get there. I just don't know why that's off the table, because the reason why Oslo failed is because it was negotiated with Arafat. Israel has never waited for a partner that actually wants peace. Now, maybe they will never come, and then I'll go to my grave saying that they never came. But I don't know why they're taking that off the table.
Because we cannot give up our security, and we cannot give up we can't look at our history and what's happened so far and the negotiations and the offers which have preceded it to say that we should offer the same things again. It's crazy, actually, that this deal right now, this quote-unquote ceasefire deal with the devil right now, is the same deal that's been offered since May, more or less. It's nuts to me. It's nuts to me. Look, we give you an offer, and then you come back and you want something. You need to get less now than you wanted before. Okay, they cannot. They've lost the two-state solution. It is dead and done. And if we don't open our eyes to some other, maybe we all haven't even thought of it yet. Maybe it's not been talked about yet. But if you can't conceptualize a way in which Israel is the sovereign over this land, where we can provide a better quality of life to all that live there that want to live in peace with us. Okay, I'm not talking about genociding all of the Arabs. Okay, what I am saying is to genocide all the fucking jihadists. Okay? And if they want to live in peace with us and be our peaceful neighbor, then we can help have a wonderful life together. And if you can't envision something like maybe the way America does it, Puerto Rico is not a state. The American Samoa is not a state. Guam is not a state. They don't vote for our president, okay, in the United States. Okay, but they receive many of the same rights, and I don't know all the specific definitions here, but they get such a great quality of life, and they have local autonomy.
They don't have an army either. They receive protection from the
They receive protection from the U.S. So this is what I'm saying that we need to be opening our eyes to, and to become open to some other solution that has not been talked about, because one state where it becomes majority Arab, majority Muslim, that doesn't work for the Jews. Okay, that doesn't work for us. Making it two states where we have our neighbor who now we've recognized as an official government, an official country, which can have a military and military alliances with our enemies, okay? That doesn't work for us, okay? That doesn't work for us. Now, what can we do to help find them some level of sovereignty so they can have local governance of themselves? Well, we can help provide civil infrastructure. We can help provide security of the entire area. And lastly, to create this other two-state solution, another Arab state, another Muslim country with no Jews, why in the world can Jewish people not live where the Palestinians live in the two-state solution because they want all the Jews out. Does that mean then shouldn't all the Jews leave Israel? I mean, shouldn't all the Muslims leave Israel? If they're going to demand that the quote-unquote settlers, which is an offensive pejorative, the Jewish residents in Judea and Samaria, cannot live in Judea and Samaria because this is the quote-unquote Palestinian Arab state, not Jordan, which it is. Point being, why in the world would we agree as Jews to say, you know what, we're gonna actually help you ethnically cleanse all Jews out of Judea and Samaria, Judea, where Jews come from? This is fucking sick and nasty for anybody to even consider that. So anybody that feels that it's an appropriate thing to do to give a country to a bunch of terrorists that swear our destruction is insane or suicidal.
I mean, I think saying that you want to live in peace with people in the Middle East is just a crazy idea. I mean, just saying that really puts you in a position where everybody sees you as a weak person. I think, Israel should always have the intention to attack, not to defend. Because as long as you want peace, then, people will see you as weak. So I think that's crazy. I mean, you're in Middle East where everyone tries and wants to kill you and eliminates you. So that's really crazy for me to hear.
Well, that being said, I hope that you heard the first part of it, which is that our enemies need to recognize defeat. They need to admit that they've lost. They need to surrender. And without a surrender, nothing moves forward. None of these pontifications in which we discuss here on Clubhouse about one state, two state, canton states, one Jewish state with some territories, blah, blah, blah. None of this means anything unless the people and the leaders of these, the leaders recognize that they've been defeated and they accept loss and they accept that Israel they failed not only to prevent the creation of the state of Israel, but now they have failed repeatedly in 48, in 67, 73, in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s, and now again in 2023 to 2025, they have failed to destroy the state of Israel and that they surrender and accept that the state of Israel is there. So the first and most important thing that we need to create is a decisive victory for Israel and a decisive defeat in the eyes of our enemy, where they go on to Al Jazeera TV. And let me see, never defeated from this stupid bitch Z. Guess what? Remove. Okay. That woman is a cancer to fucking society. The point being is that they need to recognize defeat. And the more that they get out there in the middle of the street, as we're giving them a lifeline, a fucking life preserver, restocking them, resupplying them, refortifying them with this deal with the devil right now, dancing in the street as if they've won this war, it's only a demonstration of how much harder we have to punish them so they can come to the realization in which they have lost.
I think the solution for this problem is not in Gaza or in Palestine, West Bank. It's outside. I mean, Palestinians have never made any decisions for themselves. I think they've always been influenced and pushed by others outside Gaza to do what they are doing. So I think it's time for Israel to start doing something outside Gaza.
No, the way most countries get formed is they build a state up and then they declare a state. They build up the institutions, the frameworks, the government, the thing, and then they say, okay, we're a country. This has happened time and time immemorial. The Palestinians need to build a government and institutions that are free from corruption and declare themselves that our goal is to create a country not through terrorism, but through constructive means. And until that point, everything's off the table. Until they get to that point where they say, What?
They have to be
But it's never going to happen. I'm sorry, what, Abby? Yeah, I know.
They have to be educated that way. It's not going to happen. But the comment right before was very poignant, and it shouldn't be skipped over because it is outside of their jurisdiction of the influence. And I think that's what you're also probably going to see with this deal. The other assurance that came from the U.S. in order to make the deal, which has to do with that outside influence and a joint effort to get rid of that outside influence.
But at its core, they need to do something from the inside. And I haven't seen them prepared to do things from the inside other than to build a state through terrorism. And it just doesn't work that way. Cannot be rewarded and will not be rewarded.
You heard what my first part of it.
May I ask something? I don't know if you guys are aware of the. Oh shit! Abby is on the phone. You're me. Everyone's on the phone. So go ahead.
What's the question?
I was just because I heard some people saying that Netanyahu was not invited to the inauguration. I was just wondering if anything happened between him and Trump. I mean, I have not really read anything in regards. But I don't know if it's true also.
I don't know. I haven't seen anything in the Israeli press.
I thought that Abby would be informed about this.
Instead, only try to realize the truth.
In my mind, in history, it's not generally like let's invite all the world leaders to our inauguration. It tends to be a national event.
It's only yourself.
How do I say your name? Is it Yakov? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yakov.
Yakov. Well, I mean, we could just believe them when they tell us themselves that they have no intentions of doing what you hoped for in the future. I mean, as we speak, there are celebrations of victory and declarations of war against all Jews and death to Jews, and we're reassembling our military and we're coming after you, watch out, all of these chants in the streets. I mean, they're telling us themselves that there is no hope of that happening.
And that's my point. The actions are what matters, and the actions are against creation of a state that wants to be a legitimate state that is not expansionist in nature, i.e. A state that is created in a certain territory, but whose ultimate goal is to expand into other territories. I can't think in history of another country that was formed in such a manner. And if you read the writings of certain Hamas officials after 1987, essentially they said they will recognize Israel. Let's say they, in their wildest dreams, they said, okay, let's go to a 1967 borders. We'll recognize it, but only as a stepping stone to the eventual destruction. So when they say, yeah, we'll do this and we'll accept this, it's only as an interim step. It's not as a final step. And the final plan is the one that needs to be understood completely through reading what they wrote, from listening to interviews on TV, on Lebanese TV, on all sorts of different TVs. Listen to what sorry, my dog's...
Good one.
Abby, are you there?
Fucking great one.
Yeah,
What?
Yakov comes back. I just wanted to ask you, is it true, or have you heard anything related to Netanyahu not being invited to the inauguration of Trump?
No, he's invited. It's question of that. I mean, he's running a country in the middle of a war.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I forgot about that.
I just heard something about him on purpose not being invited or not wanted there or something.
It's
line is very bad. I don't know if you're in the meeting. Sorry, it's because of my...
Wait. Can you hear me? Hold on 1 second. Let me put my earbuds in. Yeah, this is better. There are many Israeli dignitaries that are here, and they'll be here for the actual ceremony. Remember how the ceremony is going down. Rotunda is only going to fit, I just found out this finally, it's like 700-800 people. It'll be members of Congress, very close family and friends, some of Trump and everyone else. A lot of the foreign dignitaries that are here, the ambassadors that are here, will be in a viewing room at the Capitol, but separate from the rotunda. So majority of the people that are coming in are not going to see it live of dignitaries. But often with an inauguration, you have the ambassadors and you have the dignitaries that are already here. You don't have, I think the guy from South America, Argentina, is here, but I don't think you have a lot. It's not something heads of state come in for. So, but anyway, it'd be just suicide, political suicide in the middle of this deal for him to come here. Wouldn't make any sense. In the middle of this.
Hostage coming home today. He needs to be.
Yeah, he has to be in Israel. But there's many Israeli dignitaries that are here. There's a large contingency of them. And representatives from the IDF. It's a pretty large group.
Miriam, do you think Trump has a grudge against Netanyahu? Is there an issue in their relation? Do you think there's something that's can be an issue in the future?
Personally, I don't believe there is. Just based on what I see in the media, I don't have close of a finger on the pulse as maybe Abby would on that. But I don't really see any. I don't see why there would be a grudge, number one. Number two, what I would say is something that I think that Trump admires amongst quality in our allies, a U.S. ally, is the ability to stand up and fight for yourself. And what Israel has proven in the last 15, 16 months, and I venture to say actually for much longer than that, is that Israel is a strong country. It is an absolute producer of economic growth. It, number two, has a robust democracy in which has a military that is strong, powerful, and more than that, willing to use its power and strength in order to protect itself. And what Trump wants more than anything is not for the U.S. to have boots on the ground or to be more involved in foreign war. What he is, I believe, very comfortable with is to have an ally which is willing to stand up and fight for themselves. So Israel is not asking for U.S. boots on the ground to help us fight our wars. What we are asking for is, more than anything, the number one thing above actual, military armament is our political iron dome provided by the United States in our treaties together. So what we really need is that, and I believe that Trump is the guy to deliver that. So no, I don't think they're good dudes.
Sarah was just with Trump in the States, Bibi's wife. And I also think you could just look at who he just appointed as the ambassador to Israel, someone who is very close with Bibi. And most of the cabinet that he's appointing have very good relationships. So no, I don't think it's an issue. And the people that are close around him, like Jason Greenblatt, very close relationships. Whether he uses David Friedman again or not, we don't know. But also very close relationship. So I don't think it's, look, they're strong egos, but it's not something like bad blood where you saw with Obama that it was absolutely bad blood. Obama made him go in the back door of the White House and then disinvited him. It's completely different. relationship.
So Trump is not going to exhibit those traits, right? Like Obama, basically.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah, and even if he didn't like it,
he's just with his wife. He's just with his wife, and he had him down in Mar-a-Lago. Remember, after he came into the States and met with Biden, he went down to Mar-a-Lago. But he was just with Sarah. I think it was like a week or two ago. So no, there's not an issue. He has a bigger issue with Democrat Jews in the U.S. That's where you're going to hear him bitch and moan. That's who he has an issue with.
Norm is here.
He has an issue with people like Jamie Raskin and these and Adam Schiff and these idiots. That's who he has issues with. But not with people.
I think one of my I haven't really watched the confirmation hearings, but one of my favorites was Pam Bondi and Adam Schiff. Make him look like an idiot.
That was great.
I want to go watch it. I heard it was really good.
You reminded him he was censored. Only to be...
Senator Schiff, there's comments like that. There's a reason why you're censored in Congress or in the Senate.
Wow. When was he censored?
Yeah, that's amazing. No, in Congress he was censored.
Censored for being deceptive about the evidence of the Russiagate thing?
Correct. For misleading.
Yeah.
AJ posted
lack of candor, David.
Up at the top.
Can we have the quorum, please?
So I just read something that's very disturbing. I do want to share with you. Someone just tweeted that 2 hours before the inauguration, the UN Security Council is supposed to take on the resolution about Palestine being... I'll put this tweet in the chat. Tomorrow, 2 hours before President Trump is sworn in, UN Security Council is set to consider a resolution concerning Palestine. It is expected that the resolution will formally recognize Palestine as a state and that the U.S. will not veto the resolution. It's last-minute sabotage by the Biden administration. That was a tweet that...
This is like what Obama did in the last minutes of his administration.
Exactly.
But is there time? I mean, the inauguration's tomorrow.
2 hours before. I'll put the tweet in the...
AJ put at the top the interview. It was I think in November or December of 2023, so a few weeks after October 7th. Where a Hamas spokesman was interviewed on Lebanese TV. Just said, we're going to do it, It's October 7th, October 8th, or 1,000 more times until we destroy Israel. So
yeah, I remember that. That's etched into my memory forever. And it is. And the reason I brought up let's believe them when they tell us is that it seems like there's just this constant these mental gymnastics in the West to land on a conclusion that is anything other than what they are directly telling us what they want to do and what their intentions are. It's like no, we know their intentions better than what they're actually telling us their intentions are.
Yeah, I think the Obama, even Clinton, Obama, Biden approach was, we believe that we can change the attitude of these people by negotiating with them and giving them what they want in the short term. Like, there's this whole notion of believing that we can impose Western values on a group of people who want nothing to do with Western values. Like, I just think it's ludicrous. It's detached from reality.
They just want us to like us, but they're never gonna like us. So what are we doing?
We believe that in the moral high ground that we can impose these things and we can get there through diplomacy, and I just think it's crazy.
It kind of reminds me of those, those women that write into men in prison and that fall in love with that serial killer that's in prison, and part of the relationship is no, I understand him in a way no one else does. You guys just don't get him.
Yeah, how many marriage proposals did Jeffrey Dahmer get in prison?
But that guy Luigi is quite the.
Oh my God! I mean, there's girls outside of the New York courthouse saying "Free Luigi." It's all good-looking girls, or half of good-looking girls.
What, you went down to check them out?
Did you get any phone numbers?
No comment. No comment.
No. I cannot believe that they are going to vote on that. This is terrible. This is just terrible.
At least nobody listens to the UN.
Wait, who?
But what is the practical implications of that? I mean,
I'm sorry, what were you asking?
what is let's say they vote, let's say they recognize the state of Palestine or whatever. I can't even understand, but let's just pretend we recognize the state of Palestine.
Security Council, right?
Yeah.
So we have to go to the General Assembly for a vote, and then we would have a veto. I mean, then you have Elise Stefanik in.
So this is a symbolic kind of thing, then.
It feels like it, because it would still have to go to General Assembly for a full vote.
Mm-hmm.
For recognition, and we would have veto. Now, how the vetoes, who else has veto power? What other nations? That I'd have to check. David, do you know? David,
Russia, China, the UK.
Yeah. Right. Who is it? Hold on just 1 second now. What, David, who is it? Who else does?
Russia, China, the UK, France.
It's the permanent members.
Yeah. And then there's one that's rotating, right?
Correct. India, is India permanent? Did they make India a permanent member? I'm not sure.
No veto in the General Assembly, you're saying, but veto in the Security Council.
I think the Security Council resolutions are binding, actually.
The GA is just straight votes, which Israel would lose. Everyone has one vote. It's sort of like the House of Representatives. The Security Council can be vetoed by the permanent members, and I'm looking them up right now, because the permanent members change from the founding to current. Like, I think China was added.
One question I had, I'm not sure if anyone knows if there's been any official statements from Israel on this, but as I watch the scenes from Gaza, as all the buildings magically appear and all the so-called starving children from the genocide have magically put on weight overnight, and all the Hamas fighters have put away their civilian clothing and now feel safe to come out in their Hamas uniforms. Is there any sense of how much of Hamas's military capabilities has been dismantled to date? How much success has there been on that front? Where are we at with that? Does anyone have a sense of that, or at least what Israel is saying about that?
I have a number that is not up to date, that is like a few months old, that talks about 17,000 Hamas militants that were killed, but I don't know how many were arrested. They were also arrested. However, they also recruited many.
And there was an estimate also that there are around 40,000 active members of Hamas in Gaza. Again, by Israeli.
And it's not just Hamas. They also have PIJ and other factions. But the message that Hamas is sending today to the world and also to the people in Gaza, that they are here to stay. They are controlling there, and anyone that will speak out and say what happened should not. And I don't think that people talk about permanent ceasefire, but there is no such thing as a permanent ceasefire. And the entire reason to be of Hamas is to wage a holy jihad against Israel. So yeah, we need to finish the job. And I from what I understand, both from Biden and from Bibi Netanyahu, we will not get to the second phase. Basically, second phase will be to remove Hamas from government. So the third phase will not be with Hamas anymore.
But it could be Islamic Jihad. It could be, I don't know, all those Muslim brothers, whatever, right? I mean, it doesn't really matter what the name is. That's one of the problems.
No, I'm talking about the ideology, not the name.
Yeah, but it's the same ideology. What Islamic Jihad's ideology is different from Hamas.
So I'm saying, I'm talking about the ideology, not the name. The ideology of Hamas will not be able to stay in government. Not the name. They could rebrand tomorrow and call themselves Zippy. I don't care.
But you know that it will, right? I mean, that's a nice way to say that it will not, but in reality it will. I mean, we haven't done anything to destruct it yet. I hope
yes, I'm talking about we're not there yet. We're talking about the future.
That's also not true. Sure, we've done things to destruct it. We taught them that joining such a jihadist group makes your life expectancy go down significantly.
That's fine with that, Jacob. I mean, they're fine with that. That's not
they're not. Hey, Daniel, they're having a leadership problem, and also on the UNRWA schools, it's going to take another 20 years. The UNRWA schools have been taken over, and their ideology is no longer being taught that way. So, I mean, this idea that we're stuck in today's ideology forever, especially in a generation that switches so fast. We watch the generation grow up under Gaza and under Hamas, and their entire ideology has changed. To think that's irreversible, I don't get the mentality. Like the same way this has been drilled into a generation by indoctrination, these children aren't stupid. They know who forced them out. Once IDF is back in there, they'll see IDF soldiers and know the way they treat the civilians as opposed to the way jihadists treat the civilians, no matter what their name looks like. Like, there's not this defeatist attitude is smart.
I don't see. I mean, we don't have control of their education. I mean, not that we know of.
No, I don't know.
And because you are part of the issue, just a question there. Education is part of the issue. They all go to the mosque. And in the mosque, there is an imam. And the imam is the one who puts the ideas in their head. The UNRWA and the schools also, support that. But if you remove that part, you will still have the other part. You don't have any
sure, 20 years ago, just because I'm saying it's possible, so it's easy. So roadblocks are not like again, I'm very aware that this is a long, slow, difficult process. But 20 years ago, they had an imam, and the majority of Gaza wanted to have a one-state solution and be a part of Israel. Now you have a generation that's been brainwashed in a different way. It's also very hard for an imam to say something when IDF soldiers are there. Have you ever spoken to Palestinians from Jordan and Palestinians from the West Bank? They speak very, very differently. The ones from the West Bank are well aware what Israelis are like. They say a whole bunch of nonsense, but there's a certain level of understanding that when they walk up to the checkpoint, they get treated with respect. They speak to ones from Jordan, they think that Palestinians are being shot randomly in the streets. You can't lie to people.
What do the Jordanians say? Say that again.
I could even say more that I mean, I worked with guys from Palestine. I mean, high tech, and they have amazing programmers there. So and we even invited them to Israel. So I mean, I understand that there are people and they have nightclubs and all this stuff. So I mean, not in some like in Ramallah probably, but in all cities. But again, I mean, it's you're talking about their level. Yes, they have like good stuff, but you know that I mean that they have Hamas, they have all those groups are still there. And mostly in our jails are mostly those guys, right?
No, I understand all that, but you do admit that in the last 20 years, the Gaza Street has gotten a lot worse, right? Since the disengagement in 2005, things have gotten a lot worse.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay, so the good news about that is if you reverse that, it's reversible. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to all of a sudden sing Kumbaya and no one will ever try to take, all that's going to happen. But the point is, the same way it was created, it is possible to undo that creation.
Isn't there again, just a short, like to finish this. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying that we need to do something in order for that to happen. We don't. I'm not going to know it.
Daniel, can I ask you a question? Is there? I'm wondering if what Israeli commentators are saying on the TV. For me, it was just incredibly interesting. The number and quantity of Hamas fighters that came out in fatigues, rifles, pickup trucks, all sorts of like, where did this stuff come from? Were there a whole host of tunnels that Israel was completely unaware of? Like, any commentary on that?
Taking their fatigues away from them, and we're not
No, but just like
be like, people just going on. Doesn't mean that.
I'm just trying to figure out where all the vehicles came from. Like, it seemed like so much so quickly. It's just, I don't know how to interpret it.
The area in the center, like the camps of the center, this is where most of the hostages were, and Israel did not operate there because if they would come close, the hostages would be killed.
That explains
it. So Israel was not in that area at all, not in the tunnels there, not in the infrastructure, not anything. Now, what Hamas did today was basically a show. They brought Al Jazeera. They did it to the swamp. They could have done the swap very quietly. No, they did it in the center.
No, that's not their style.
But it's all about style. It's about they wanted to pass a message. They made it into a performance. They brought thousands of Gazans. They did it in broad daylight in the middle of the street with full fatigue, with guns, with flags. They even dressed the hostages. One of the hostages has like a Palestinian flag on her. It was a display of dominance.
There's not
in Gaza. Yes, and for others. So everything that we saw today was basically it's a show. It's a show of dominance to show we are here to stay.
No, I got that. I just couldn't figure out where they came from. So your answer, Israel didn't operate there, it answers the question. Thank you very much.
You can also see on the background, you see the convoys. You can see that there are like buildings next to it. There are markets and
correct. It's not flat.
Exactly. And everybody is well fed, and everybody has a fresh haircut, and manicures, and everybody has a charged phone, and everybody is like, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, can I just a point of clarification? I know you were suggesting that, I know you weren't saying it was going to happen, but that it was a possibility to reverse how things have been trending in Gaza over the last couple of decades or so. How do you think that would even come about? I mean, so long as Hamas and these other groups are controlling things like education there and the insane levels of indoctrination that are happening, how would we bring about that? I know one of the examples you gave is just that through people's interactions with Israeli soldiers and checkpoints. I mean, that seems like something like that is not even going to be a drop in the bucket in terms of reversing decades of indoctrination. So I was just curious what you meant by that.
What I meant is the mistake that Israel made was a unilateral disengagement and they handed over to Fatah, but then it got seized by Hamas. So what I see as the big mistake of Oslo, let's go all the way back to Oslo, was it came 20 to 30 years too early. Israel demanded that Arafat has to give up, back to the 90s, has to give up claims to Israel's right to exist, and he did not. And Rabin went forward with the negotiations anyway. There was the genesis of the mistake, and that weed has never been destroyed. So what Israel has to do is go back to the drawing board and say, we're willing to have negotiations, but these are the premise that has to happen until then there's an indefinite occupation. And we're not going to negotiate based on hopefully in the future something will have by negotiation. We're hoping that something will grow in peace. Now, when you come with a partner that's ready for peace, we're ready to talk. So my whole point is I don't want to annex Gaza because I don't want those citizens. I don't want a permanent occupation because nobody wants a permanent state of war. So the only solution here is the carrot and the stick and saying we will go back to between 1967 and 2005 occupation style with absolutely zero negotiations until the negotiating partner. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks. I'm going to think about that. Is it fair for me to assume all of this is temporary and that there has to be another phase to this because Israel would have to be insane to allow any kind of potential for regrouping, reassembling of Hamas, which they surely have at this point?
There are three. Cocktail is temporary, 100% temporary.
Okay.
And the permanent conversation hasn't even begun yet. This is what Palestinians are lying about. This is 100% temporary, agreed to by all sides very, very clearly, which is what Biden didn't demand for. And ironically, it was Hamas that turned it down when Biden offered them basically a victory. This is Hamas's has surrendered. They have admitted that they will not be part of the future government or a military power.
You know, something that I found striking in some of these images as those vans were going through the crowds with the hostages inside the vans, it seemed like, ironically, some of these Hamas fighters were holding back the crowds from coming through and getting to these hostages. You know, the image of that was quite striking because you're always hearing about the, civilian this, civilian that. What was clear in this case is that even the Hamas fighters were keeping back the civilian crowds who arguably would have done far worse to these hostages in these vans. I just don't know. I just don't know how you reverse this level of hatred and savagery.
Are the three in hospitals now or still in the military bases?
No, in Sheba.
Soroka?
Sheba.
Yeah, Beersheba is Soroka.
No, not Beersheba, Sheba.
Oh, Sheba. I thought you said Beersheba. Sorry. Who was any of the? How many? It was 11-1. So is there at least 33 prisoners? Were any with blood on their hands, or just?
The first hostages were just like petty crimes. Sorry, I mean the first.
Let's not call them hostages.
The first prisoners I meant, not hostages.
Yeah, you sound like the pro-Pally people.
For the first set of release of hostages, the prisoners provided were just petty crimes, mostly women and children.
You know what I find ironic, and I can't keep on repeating this, so this will be the last time, is the talking point of the pro-Palestinian group is that Israeli lives are worth more than Palestinian lives. Well, Hamas itself just indicated that 11 Israelis are worth one Palestinian life. Like, they did the math for us. It wasn't 1-1, it was 11-1.
You mean 11 Palestinians worth one?
Yeah, that's what I just said.
I said the opposite.
Oh, sorry. 33 to 3 is 11-1. Yeah. If I said the opposite, that's my dysgraphia. Yeah, and with Shalit, it was 1,034 to 1. So, or whatever the number was. So they say they're worth less than Jews.
And let's not forget the nature of the people that are being swapped. Israel asked for 2 child hostages under the age of 5 taken captive by Hamas. The Palestinians are asking for a man who raped an 18-year-old girl, beheaded her, and was celebrated for it. And it's just, you just look at the two sides, and I don't know how you can draw a single comparison. It's...
Who is this guy that did what you just said? What's the name of him?
I didn't have a name. Let me find it. But I do have a name for this one. So Israel gets Kafir Bibas, which is a toddler, and the toddler's crime was an official crime was being born Jewish, and in exchange, Israel hands over Mohammed Abu Warda, who's responsible for the 1996 Kiryat Menachem bus bombing with 44 murdered.
Wait, who said the crime was born being Jewish? Wait, AJ, repeat.
I was being
Yaakov, calm down. Yaakov,
I am completely calm. Don't say calm down.
He's making a point. Yeah, but you missed the entire point. Just let it go. Let it go. He was making a point.
Don't be condescending, please.
AJ, how many people get released for the one child? Is it how many?
Sorry, Abby, I don't have I'm not super well informed on the exact numbers. These were just some swaps that I was seeing people drawing comparisons online with some names listed. So I haven't fully fact checked, and I don't have all the names. Yaakov, I think you may have misunderstood me. I was. If you interpreted that as in any way pro-Hamas or Palestinian.
No. I was just trying to figure out who said that, or was that a joke? That was all I was trying to figure out.
Nobody said that. He was making a point.
Thank you. That's all someone had to say.
What's the last name of this guy, Mohammed, who did the bus bombing?
The name I have is Abu Warda, Warda.
Thank you. Did you see where the bus bombing was?
It's listed here. It says Kiryat Menachem.
Did it say when? This is back in Intifada 2?
This is back in 96 is what it's listed as. If any of this is factually incorrect, please correct me so I can retract.
I am King Egbert.
That
You will
makes
show me
sense.
your face, or I will be unable
With
to judge
Intifada
whether or
2.
not you're telling me the truth.
2 was started in the year 2000, or something like 2001, something like that.
And were you unfaithful?
First one started in 87.
What do pagans say of such cases?
4
I
months
was
ago.
there in Israel for the World Zionist Congress in 1987 in December, and I remember walking around Jerusalem, and I went with my girlfriend into the old city, and all of a sudden, all the doors, like these metal doors that shut the stalls of the stores, in the Christian quarter, in the Armenian quarter, were being shut. And we went, just to a shopping to buy tchotchkes, whatever, and we were like, what's going on? Like we were just baffled by it. And someone could check the dates, but that was December 87 when that happened. And that's the first time I heard the word. I didn't know what it meant, but I mean, the way it was, manifesting was these businesses, and the businesses were owned by Christians and Armenians. These were not, it wasn't the Muslim quarter, it was the Christian quarter, but everything got shut. So I don't know, but those were the dates.
Yeah, Ruth and I took our honeymoon in July of 1987. We went all up and down the West Bank, just went everywhere. And that was July, and it's the first Intifada started December 8th. I remember it was December, I just looked it up. It started December 8th, ended in 1993. The second one started September 28th, 2000, after Ariel Sharon went up to Al-Aqsa Mosque area, the temple compound, which he should be able to, and ended sometime around 2005. It just simmered down. There's no official end date per se.
King of Wessex, the king regrets your attack on the holy church. It was just kingdom.
Upon what he'll offer us to leave, what he'll offer us to stay.
Stay.
Yes. We want to make peace with the king.
Peace.
so we don't have to kill anymore.
I will relay your message.
Why the Hamas is not giving back the hostages? Okay.
You just gave back 3. What's the question?
Yeah, why they are not giving back that?
Okay. Speak to us. I can. I have been sent here by experts.
They did get them back. They did get them back from today.
Oh, okay.
You guys still there?
Yeah.
Someone's got an echo, I guess. But yeah, well, it's maybe me. I'm not sure. I mean, you got to critically analyze this situation. So there's best case scenarios and worst case scenarios. I think this war was fairly predictable in many ways. But here we are at the end of it, back to diplomacy again. So
If we analyzing it,
diplomacy is hot.
We're not at the end of it because it's a ceasefire, not
Well, people are saying
something that says that it's over and this hostilities have ended. No, it's not over.
Right, so there's a chance that there could be another phase of fighting, but now it's a question of how likely that is or not. I think on balance, the chances are fairly good that this ceasefire could hold up and there'll be more rounds and everything will kind of peter out at this point.
And what makes you say that? What makes you say that, Mike?
Because it's like fighting these wars is it's a political will, and when the will is there, they fight, and when it's not, they don't. And there's a lot of willpower now to kind of keep the peace and keep, go on to the next phase, and
Trump is talking about banning CRT in school, which I think is an overreach. I think it's fucked up.
But I will say, Hakima, look, I made it like 21 year or whatever, 18 years of schooling, and I never learned CRT in school, and I think I turned out okay.
Well, because you went to the right school.
I haven't needed it in my professional life or my personal life.
The point is, to ban it is a ban on free speech. I'm not saying make it mandatory to teach it, but
I mean, there's a lot of things you could do.
Can I finish that real quick? I'm not saying like make it mandatory, but to ban talking about white supremacy or white privilege, to talk about institutional racism, to ban that is wrong. I mean, it's
is that what CRT is?
Yeah, 100%.
So Hakima, how is that going to add any type of relevance in the business that I work in? We're bound by fair housing, so even if
he's a good guy, but he gets upset. He's a good guy.
Well, he's about to be kicked out of the house, and for me, but I want to also know if.
I don't want to kick him out.
That's up to you, but he's
I have a lot of patience for a lot of stuff, okay? But there's one rule that we have in this house that we repeat only this rule. Threats of violence is crossing a line. And, you know, he's not unless you will tell me that he's a retard or that he's 6 years old, and I will say, okay, you know, maybe he cannot control himself. But a mature man that cannot control himself and threatens people with violence, with physical violence, and he actually, you know, I have my face here and I have my name. And he says, you know, he will come to Tel Aviv and will beat the shit out of me. And this is a violent threat. And unless you will tell me like that he's officially retarded or that he's like, you know, 6 years old or whatever.
He's fine, you don't have to
He's on our side, but he has emotional regulation issues.
Listen, there are Jews that killing Jews, okay? I don't want to be one of those Jews that is being scammed by a fanatic Jew because he's on an ego trip. I don't know who he is, and if you guys have information about him, then maybe you should tell him.
We know who he is. We know who he is. He's not stabbing anybody. Don't worry.
He's fine.
Mike, it sounds a lot like you're projecting.
So, Harry, hold on, I'm just gonna say goodbye to Harry. Let's first we move in.
We sing the ISO song?
And I'm gonna block him from the house. Unless he will send a message for anyone that he takes it back, he apologizes, and he promised never to threat anyone again.
Yeah, he shouldn't have done, for sure. On the subject,
I'll let you back. Harry, you have 1 minute to apologize in the chat before you're being kicked out. And I'm also screenshotting this. And threat is something that I would assume is illegal in the United States. And I will find who you are. So you have 1 minute starting now. Actually 2 minutes, so it will be 0 until 17:50 in my clock. To apologize and take it back. Go on, continue the discussions.
Daniel, give him a little moment, some grace. This is extremely emotional for everybody.
So I'm giving him 2 minutes to apologize.
Okay, all right. Let's move it on. Let's move on. So I don't think there's any need to respond to Mike. The goal of Israel has not been reached, and the goal of Hamas has not been reached. Therefore, there's no basis for an enduring peace. Israel wants the complete absence of Hamas. If that's